This conference is dedicated to informing the public about the latest innovations and best practices in data privacy. Cliff Hughes Online will broadcast live from the conference on July 18 and 19 from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Tune in for insightful discussions with speakers from Trinidad.
Starting a renovation project? Start right. Start here at H&L Rapid True Value for all your essentials at our 10 stores island-wide. The time by H&L Rapid True Value is
nationwide time, 5 o'clock.
Crisp and refreshing. Room temperature or chilled. A pure water would drink. The temperature by Pure Water is
31 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 30 out west in Montego Bay.
From the Nationwide News Network, comprehensive, incisive, tough. This is Nationwide at 5.
Good afternoon, I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Robianne Williams.
In Nationwide News at this hour, the teenage daughter of Omar Collymore and Simone Campbell Collymore blasts her father in open court for murdering her mother.
The prosecution wants Omar Collymore to spend a minimum of 45 years in prison for murdering his wife.
Chairman of the Integrity Commission says calls for it to speak on ongoing investigations are irritatingly unfair and unreasonable.
JTA President Leighton Johnson warns that schools damaged by Hurricane Beryl may not be repaired in time for schools reopening.
We have noted the devastation to several of our schools. There presents a very short window for the Ministry of Education to get these repairs done.
80,000 JPS customers are still without electricity.
In news from the rest of the world, Venezuelan gang sanctioned by the U.S.
Biden to face media grilling as calls increase for him to quit the presidential race.
In headline sports, there's been at least one change to Jamaica's track and field team to the Paris Olympic Games.
And later in our broadcast, in the cover story at 5:35, members of the opposition PMP have blasted government members of Parliament's Public Administration and Appropriations Committee for failing to attend meetings. The chairman, Michael Phillips, and the MP for North East St. Elizabeth, Delroy Slowly, will join us.
In Public Opinion at 6:26, we ask, on a scale of 1 to 5, how is the government managing Beryl's recovery? Give us your comments by logging on to our Facebook page, Nationwide News Network, and by tweeting us at Nationwide Radio, and message us on WhatsApp at 876-285-5693. You can also leave your comments on Instagram at Nationwide 90FM.
In the nation's business at 6:40, the JTA President Leighton Johnson says the reopening of school may need to be delayed due to the damage caused by Hurricane Beryl. We'll hear from President of the Jamaica Association of the Chairman of Secondary Institutions, Courtney Winter.
And at 8, it's Jamaican Dads with Dennis Brooks, Garth Williams, Marlon Campbell, and Floyd Green.
All these and more as we take you home on air on your mobile, Nationwide 90FM, nationwideradiojm.com, and on the Nationwide app, available on the Google Play and the App Store. This Thursday afternoon, it's Thursday, July 11, 2024.
News at 5 is brought to you by the new Cheetah Zinger from KFC. Topped with marinara sauce, mozzarella cheese, and pepperoni. Available for a limited time only. KFC, it's finger licking good.
If it's news, it's got to be Nationwide 90 FM.
And now to the details. The teenage daughter of Omar Collymore and murdered businesswoman Simone Campbell Collymore has told the Home Circuit Court that her role model, her mother, was taken from her due to the selfish actions of her father. Her heartfelt victim impact statement was read into the court record Thursday during the sentencing hearing of her father, the murder convict Omar Collymore. Collymore is awaiting sentencing for the daring daylight January 2018 murder of his wife Simone and her taxi driver Winston Walters. Simone was shot 19 times. Walters was cut down by 5 bullets. Dana Davey reports.
The union of Simone and Omar Collymore produced 2 children, a son and a daughter. At the time of Simone's death, her daughter was 8 years old and her son was 5. In her victim impact statement, Simone's daughter expressed how hard it has been for her and her brother since their mother was killed. In the statement, she addressed her father.
You took away the rock of our family. I have been in therapy for about 10 times because I have bad dreams or thinking people going to hurt me like you did to my mom.
The young Collymore stated that she went to a school function and saw how the mothers were present, taking pictures and fixing their children's hair, and the fathers were also present. She continued addressing her father.
I am still trying to repair and forgive you. I know we weren't close because you pushed me away because you loved my brother and pushed me away. Because of selfishness, you killed my role model. I hope God help you find him.
She expressed that she's doing better now, but noted that she's concerned about her brother, who she said is not showing any emotions. She added,
Deep down, I know he is hurting that his role model hurt his mom.
She continued to address her father.
Your family has not been in touch or asked how their grandchildren are doing. Your family gave up on us. My last name isn't even my last name.
To conclude her statement, she said to her father,
I hope when you listen to this, you have a bitter feeling in your heart and think about what you have caused your children to go through and what kind of father you are.
Evidently perturbed by his daughter's statement, Omar was heard mumbling to himself in the dock. He was then observed speaking to his attorney, Diane Jobson. The defense will make submissions when the sentence hearing resumes on Tuesday morning at 10. Dana Davey for Nationwide News.
Meanwhile, Senior Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions Andrea Martin Swaby has recommended life imprisonment at hard labor for the murder convict Omar Collymore, with a starting point of 45 years before he's eligible for parole. The sentencing hearing got underway in the Home Circuit Court in downtown Kingston today. In May, Omar and his 3 co-accused were found guilty of murder and conspiracy to murder his wife, Simone, and her taxi driver, Winston Walters. Robian Williams was in court.
Senior prosecutor Andrea Martin Swaby described Simone Collymore's killing as a highly organized contractual arrangement. She added that it was a premeditated act by her husband, Omar, who engaged his accomplice, Michael Adams. Adams then involved over 6 other people in the vicious plan, including Shaquilla Edwards and Dwayne Pink, who are also before the court. For Omar and Adams, Mrs. Martin Swaby recommended 2 life sentences each for the murders and 6.5 years for the conspiracy charge. For Pink, she suggested 2 life sentences for the murders and 6.5 years to the conspiracy charge. As for Edwards, who is convicted of conspiracy to murder, a sentence of 6.5 years was recommended. In her final submissions to the court, Mrs. Martin Swaby posited 7 aggravating factors to raise the severity of the punishment. She stated that the act is compounded by the fact that Omar is Simone's husband. She submitted that Omar and Adams brought several people together to complete the orchestrated act. Mrs. Martin Swaby added that the evidence demonstrates Adams, Edwards, and Pink engaged in trailing Simone over a period of days. She asked the court to take into consideration the strength of the case with the account given by the self-confessed murderer Wade Blackwood, which was supported by scientific evidence. Additionally, she stated the impact of the offense on the families of the victims and the impact of the offense on society as aggravating factors. She said the gruesome killing was captured on CCTV and widely circulated publicly. Mrs. Martin Swaby said the evidence disclosed that Walters' vehicle was trailed from downtown Kingston. She added that his killing must be considered an additional aggravated factor as it was deliberately done to remove him as a witness. She urged presiding Judge Justice Leighton Pusey to consider the fact that the case features intimate partner violence and contract killing, 2 issues of grave concern in society. For each aggravating factor, Mrs. Martin Swaby recommended an additional 10 years for the murder of Simone and another 12 years for the murder of Walters. The only mitigating factor outlined by Mrs. Martin Swaby is that all, except for Adams, have no previous convictions. She added that full credit must be given to the accused men for time already spent in custody. Mrs. Martin Swaby submitted that the details of the case bring it into the category of the worst of the worst. She said, quote, "Evidence-led has depicted a chilling demonstration to kill an individual. A strong message is to be sent to society in respect of persons who are contracted to kill and persons who engage in such offences. The deterrence of likely offenders must be considered by the court." End quote. The senior prosecutor ended her submissions by stating that no remorse has been shown by any of the convicts. The sentencing hearing has been adjourned until Tuesday morning at 10. Robeanne Williams for Nationwide News. Chairman of the Integrity Commission, retired Justice Seymour Panton, has described calls from members of the public for it to speak about ongoing investigations as irritatingly unfair and unreasonable. He made the remark in the Commission's annual report tabled in the House of Representatives earlier this week. Norgay Banton has more in this report.
Justice Panton made wide-ranging remarks in this section of the Commission's annual report titled Chairman's Remarks. Among other things, the retired justice would like members of the public, especially those who know better, to stop calling on the commissioners and the directors to make public comments on the state of statutory declarations or ongoing investigations. He says given the existing restrictions under the Integrity Commission Act, the calls from Jamaicans are irritatingly unfair and unreasonable. The Commission's chairman is reminding Jamaicans that the Act restricts the Commission from making any report or public statement in relation to the initiation or conduct of any investigation being undertaken by the Director of Investigation. Justice Panton says no public comment can be made prior to the tabling of a report in Parliament. He says the Act treats statutory declarations, government contracts, and licenses as secret and confidential. He says any breach of that confidentiality may result in fines or imprisonment. The Commission's chairman says he is awaiting action from Parliament on the amendments it has suggested to the Act. One of the most prominent amendments requested by the Commission is the removal of the so-called gag clause, which prevents it from making public comment before the tabling of a report in Parliament. Justice Panton says it must also be noted that there is nothing preventing persons under investigation from speaking out in any situation that relates to them. There have been repeated calls from the 8 members of Parliament who are under investigation for illicit enrichment to name themselves. Civil society groups say members of the public have a right to know who they are. Principal Director of National Integrity Action Daniel Archer says politicians who are under investigation should enjoy no special privileges.
We're not about telling people that we're protecting their reputations and the name shouldn't be called out. Because the regular man downtown who is suspected of fraud, his name is called. His identity isn't hidden. And he has a loss of money as well. The loss of his money is no different than the loss of the reputation or money of a politician.
Parliamentarians on both sides of the political divide have so far resisted calls for the removal of the so-called gag clause. Norgay Banton for Nationwide News.
Meanwhile, Justice Panton says despite the Commission's budget of more than $1 billion, it remains understaffed. The Commission's chairman says despite the budget approved by the Parliament, the staff complement is not at the desired level. He says part of the reason for the understaffing is the restrictions imposed by the Finance Ministry on the level at which the Commission may place an employee within the government's salary scale. The Commission's chairman says this leaves the anti-corruption body at a disadvantage in the job recruitment market. The question of the Commission's staffing and capacity has again come to the fore after its latest annual report revealed that of the 165,492 statutory declarations received by the Commission, only 2,288 have been examined over a 6-year period. That's just shy of 1.4% of the declarations received by the Commission. The statistics suggest the Commission does not have the capacity to examine the vast majority of declarations received. Parliament has responded by agreeing to increase the threshold for declaration filings to $12 million. This will mean only 10,000 public sector workers will now be required to file declarations with the Commission. You're listening to the news on Nationwide at 5. We'll have more after these.
Value Drug Pharmacy offers curbside pickup and delivery of your branded and generic drugs. WhatsApp your prescription to 876-881-6695. The time by Value Drug Pharmacy is...
It's 15 minutes after 5.
Rentokil Initial offers air purification solutions with triple filtration and unique auto-sensing capabilities that neutralizes malodor and replaces it with clean air. Call Rentokil Initial at 926-4236 for more details.
The temperature by Rentokil is
31 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 30 out west in Montego Bay.
If you are 40 and over, CCRP offers a world of benefits. Access to valuable health plans from Sagicor, discounted home and auto insurance from J&GI, and discounts from over 100 retailers and service providers. Enjoy wonderful tours, social events, and much more. Visit our website, ccrponline.org for details. CCRP, life to the fullest.
Continuing the news, President of the Jamaica Teachers Association, JTA, Leighton Johnson, is expressing concern that repairs to schools damaged by Hurricane Beryl will not be completed in time for the resumption of classes come September. Preliminary estimates indicate that the country's education sector suffered close to $800 million in damage. More in this report from Shalois Michael.
With the new school year set to begin in the next 7 weeks, Leighton Johnson is urging the Education Ministry to fast-track repair efforts.
What we've seen based on our tour, especially those areas that have been severely impacted, is that there presents a very short window for the Ministry of Education to get these repairs done. Some schools have been extensively damaged. There are schools that have several buildings without roofs at this time, schools that have had their windows knocked out, and there are others that have just minimal damage. So we are asking as best as possible for them to speed up these processes. And we know that in many regards, if these projects are not completed, then at the start of school for September, in many regards, it's going to be uncomfortable for both students and the teachers.
Over 100 schools have suffered damage from the hurricane. Beryl stripped several schools of their roofs and caused extensive damage to classrooms and windows. The JTA president is calling for a special fund to deal with natural disasters that impact the country's learning institutions. He made reference to last October's earthquake, noting that several schools that were impacted are yet to be repaired.
As an association, we are making the call that it is urgent for the Ministry of Education to have in place emergency funds that can be activated in times like these with natural disasters, hurricanes, earthquakes, floods, that kind of thing. This fund is essential to assist in ensuring the sector's resilience, because what we have seen after natural disaster, in many instances, schools take a very long time to repair the infrastructure. Coming out of the earthquake last year, there are schools that are left to be repaired.
Mr. Johnson is also proposing insuring schools against natural disasters.
Start thinking about insurance, how our schools or educational institutions are insured. This is something that we perhaps need to think about. It is a direction that the ministry needs to seriously contemplate so that in eventualities like these, there is a buffer, there is a cushion, there are funds that our educational institutions can rely on to effect the necessary repairs just to ensure that the process of teaching and learning is not disrupted.
Shalois Michael for Nationwide News.
1 week after Hurricane Beryl caused extensive damage to power lines across the island, 80,000 customers of the Jamaica Public Service Company, JPS, remain without electricity. In the latest update from the Light and Power Company on Thursday, 90% of its approximately 692,000 customers have been reconnected. That's the equivalent of 612,000 customers. The utility provider says work to restore power over the next 24 to 48 hours will continue in all 14 parishes. According to JPS, 97% of all major health facilities are also now operating with electricity. The company added that it has also completed assessments of all its power plants. JPS says more than 13,000 kilometers of distribution lines have been patrolled. Senior Vice President of Energy Delivery at JPS, Blaine Jarrett, has commended those working on the electricity across the island. He's also thanking the public for their patience.
World in a Minute is brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology, and integrity.
The World in a Minute. The U.S. government has sanctioned a Venezuelan gang for spreading criminal activity across Latin America. The Biden administration says the Tren de Aragua gang is behind a spree of kidnappings, extortion, and other violent crimes tied to migrants that have spread across Latin America and the U.S. The White House has also offered a $12 million reward for the arrest of 3 gang leaders. The White House says the gang has now joined the MS-13 gang from El Salvador and the mafia-styled Camorra from Italy on a list of transnational criminal organizations banned from doing business in the U.S. In a statement on Thursday, the U.S. Treasury Department stated that the Tren de Aragua poses a deadly criminal threat across the region.
U.S. President Joe Biden is set to field questions from reporters over his re-election bid. He's expected to hold a solo news conference at the NATO summit underway in Washington, D.C. Biden's re-election campaign has been engulfed in crisis since his stumbling performance in a presidential debate with Donald Trump. More Democratic donors and politicians have called on him to quit the race following the debate. Critics have said Biden's speeches in front of a teleprompter are vastly different from his unscripted moments. All eyes will be on his news conference scheduled for 6:30 this evening. Biden has vowed to fight on and insists he is the best candidate to beat Donald Trump in the November election. And in a very unfortunate gaffe, the president just called the Ukrainian president, Volodymyr Zelensky, Putin.
World in a Minute was brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology, and integrity.
Recapping the top stories making nationwide news at this hour, the teenage daughter of Omar Collymore and Simone Campbell Collymore blasts her father in open court for murdering her mother.
The prosecution wants Omar Collymore to spend a minimum of 45 years in prison for murdering his wife.
The chairman of the Integrity Commission says the calls for it to speak on ongoing investigations are irritatingly unfair and unreasonable.
JTA President Leighton Johnson warns that schools damaged by Hurricane Beryl may not be repaired in time for schools reopening.
I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Roby Ann Williams.
Listeners, you can find the news on our website at nationwideradiojm.com and on the Nationwide app, available on the Google Play and the App Store. News next, the headlines at 6.
News at 5 was brought to you by the new Pizza Zinger from KFC. Topped with marinara sauce, mozzarella cheese, and pepperoni. Available for a limited time only. KFC, it's finger licking good.
I pursue opportunities.
I prepare for opportunities.
I plan for opportunities.
With Sagicor e-Invest, you can prepare, plan for, and pursue IPO opportunities. Browse IPOs, review IPO details and prospectuses. Select and apply for a featured IPO.
IPO.
With Sagicor e-Invest. Think wealth. Visit sagicor.com.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Sports here on Nationwide 90 FM. I'm Wayne Walker. Former national men's senior football team coach Heimer Hallgrimsson says the main reason he took the Irish national football coaching job is because the federation is professional and treated him with respect. Hallgrimsson has been handed the responsibility of taking the Irish to the World Cup finals in 2026, replacing Stephen Kenny. The Icelander says he's in a good place now.
I really liked the administration, how they approached their professionalism and how they kind of treated me with respect, etc. So that was another thing that really impressed me.
Hallgrimsson, who was in charge of the Jamaica national team for over 2 years, says he was approached earlier this year, but he told his new employers that he could not discuss any terms until after the Copa America.
It was some time back, I heard, but like others that kind of contacted, I told them I would be focused on Copa America, and we decide after the Copa what we will do. So no, it was just an honor to be thought of as the next possible coach for the Republic.
In the meantime, Hallgrimsson will be paid the Jamaican equivalent of $110 million a year to coach the Irish national team. The 57-year-old Icelander was unveiled on Wednesday as the new coach. Hallgrimsson will be paid €650,000 per year to coach the team, but has been given 17 months to turn things around. Hallgrimsson's contract runs until after the 2026 World Cup qualification campaign. The Irish FA says Hallgrimsson was identified earlier this year, as he mentioned, as their number one candidate for the job. The West Indies reached 79 for 6 at Storm, still trailing by 171 runs against England on day 2 of the first test at Lords. Captain Craig Brathwaite 4, Mikael Louis 14, Kirk McKenzie a duck, Alec Athanase 22, Jason Holder 20 and Cavem Hodge 4. They are the batsmen back in the pavilion. Wicketkeeper Joshua De Silva is not out 8. Jimmy Anderson, Gus Atkinson and Ben Stokes have so far taken 2 wickets apiece. Earlier, England took a 200-run lead after being bowled out for 371 in their first innings. Zach Crowley, he made 76. Ollie Pope 57, Joe Root 68, Harry Brook 50 and Jamie Smith 70. Jaden Seales took 4 wickets, and the Seal says they were in trouble from the first innings.
I think we bowled pretty well in parts. I didn't think we were as consistent as we wanted to be throughout the entire day. We had partnerships and spells where we were exactly how we wanted to. And yeah, it's pretty frustrating to look up at the scoreboard and see the position we're in now. Probably if we batted better on the first day, we may not have been in this position, but that's all in the past and we just have to move forward with it.
Jaden Seales. Jamaica made a solid start to the defence of their regional under-19 men's cricket title against the Windward Islands at Arnos Vale in St. Vincent and the Grenadines today. Tamari Redwood 6 for 44 and Michael Clark 4 for 26 combined to dismiss the Windwards for 135, with the West Indies under-19 player Stefan Pascal making 26. Jamaica replied with 146 for 8 declared, thanks to Adrian Ware 38, Brian Barnes 30, Steve Wedderburn 28 and Clark himself 24. Kurt Murray bagged 4 for 34 bowling for the Windward Islands, who closed the opening day on 27 without loss, batting a second time, an overall lead of 16 entering tomorrow's final day. At Sion Hill, Barbados were bowled out for 200 by Trinidad and Tobago, who reached 51 for 3 in reply at stumps. Jatario Prescott 55 and Joshua Morris 43 made most runs for the Bajans against Jason Agard 4 for 50, while over at Park Hill, Guyana, they were bowled out for 111 by the Leeward Islands, who closed the day on 84 for 2. Nathan Edward bagged 5 for 22 bowling for the Leewards. There's been at least one change to the Jamaica track and field squad selected to represent the country at the Olympic Games in Paris this summer. Former Calabar High School standout Kimar Farquharson, who was picked as a reserve for the mixed open 4x400 meters relay, has been ruled out with an injury. Anthony Cox of Chase Athletics, who finished the 6th at the National Championships in 46.20 seconds, has been brought in as his replacement. Meanwhile, a number of the officials are traveling today. They are heading to Stuttgart in Germany for this weekend's start of the Olympic training camp ahead of the Games. The Olympic Games will start on July 26 with the athletics program set to begin on Emancipation Day here in Jamaica, August 1. Nationwide 90 FM will have live and exclusive radio broadcast of the Games here in Jamaica. And just going back to cricket here for the Rising Stars women's, Jamaica under-19 women's team, well, they went down by 7 runs via the Duckworth-Lewis method against the Leeward Islands in the West Indies Rising Stars women's under-20 championship at the Brian Lara Cricket Stadium in Port of Spain, well, in Trinidad and Tobago. Batting first, the Leewards made 124 for 6, and this came off their 20 overs. Captain Jazara Claxton made 29. In response to Jamaicans, they reached 55 for 3 in 11 overs. Abigail Bryce made 15 and Chrisana McKenzie 13 not out. And it's now time for the Nationwide Olympic Fact. It's sponsored by Fontana Pharmacy.
This is Nationwide's Olympic Facts. Brought to you by Fontana Pharmacy. It's all good inside.
Did you know that Omar McLeod is the first Jamaican to win gold in the men's 110 meters hurdles at the Olympics? Yes, that's a fact. At the 2016 Rio Games, Omar McLeod won gold in the sprint hurdles in 13.05 seconds.
That was Nationwide's Olympic Facts. Brought to you by Fontana Pharmacy. It's all good inside.
Right, and of course the Olympic Games will start in 15 days' time. Yeah, just about 2 weeks' time. And as I mentioned, that we keep saying since the start of the year, even earlier, the only place to listen to the Olympic Games is right here on Nationwide 90 FM. We can't say it enough. Sandra Murray on the YouTube, she's asking about the young lady with the hammer throw. Well, Naoka Clunis, they'll just have to wait and see what happens. By tomorrow, we should have some information on this very, very unfortunate incident. But just let's see. She still has an opportunity, but let's see where it goes from there. All right, that's sports. We're going to be back with more at 6:05.
All roads lead to the Jamaica College Auditorium this Saturday, July 13, for the Jamaica Festival Song Results Show starting at 8:30 p.m. 10 finalists, 10 great songs, but there can only be one winner. The Jamaica Festival Song Results Show, Jamaica College Auditorium, Saturday, July 13, 8:30 p.m. Admission free. Festival nice again.
Treatment for drinking water. Following the passage of Hurricane Beryl, members of the public are reminded to treat their drinking water before consumption. Water can be treated by boiling or adding bleach. Here are some tips to help you. For boiling water, water that is boiled for treating should be heated until it comes to a rolling boil, where bubbles continuously come to the surface of the water. Allow water to boil for 1 minute. Cover and let cool. Store water in a clean, covered container. For adding bleach, you may also add 3% or 5% household bleach, not bulk bleach, to treat drinking water. Add 2 drops of bleach to 1 quart of water. Mix well and leave for 30 minutes before drinking. For further information, please contact the Health Emergency Operations Center at 888-1-LOVE. That's 888-663-5683.
We've been a part of everyday Jamaican life for over 25 years. From paydays to birthdays, unexpected emergencies to anniversary celebrations, the supermarket checkout line, or paying a bill or taxes on time. Our fast, secure debit network provides reliable service so you can always depend on Multilink. Jamaican and proud, fast, secure, everywhere.
The Ministry of Health and Wellness is now accepting applications for the Dr. Barry Wint Memorial Scholarship. Jamaican citizens pursuing a first degree, master's or PhD in any health-related field, including medical social work, human resources for health, nursing, dentistry, health economics, or any other, can qualify for up to $1 million per year for 5 years to complete their studies. Visit www.moh.gov.jm/scholarship for more details and to submit your application. Deadline date is Wednesday, July 31, 2024. We look forward to seeing your application.
More savings, more choices. Get active with Active Home Center. The one-stop shop for everything for your home. We have more savings, more choices, unbelievable prices. Wide selection with the latest style. The kitchen, bathroom, right down to the tile. Buy the hottest items on spot, don't miss out. Best options under one roof, no doubt. More savings, more choices.
Visit us in store or online at www.activehomecenter.com.
We have more savings, more choices.
I stay locked to the Olympics because, of course, I'm Jamaican. What you mean? Me, I have to tune into the Olympics, man. Because I'm always busy, but what? I have to know when Sherika Jackson beat Shakari.
Brother, I have to have every notification for the Olympics. I want to hear every run.
Now Sherika Jackson coming
every jump.
Oh, that is absolutely huge of Wayne Pinkham.
Every fling, live.
So, take us then.
Nothing can miss me.
We're always on the move.
So while we're driving, run, Elaine, run.
Jogging. Yes. Run, Watson. Win again.
Watson is now a world champion.
Or even at work.
Quick, the race has started.
We can't miss a beat because we keep it locked
to the only station
for the Paris Olympics.
Nationwide.
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 90 FM.
Nationwide 90.1, 90.3, 90.5, 90.7 and 90.9 and on YouTube at Nationwide 90 FM Live. Nationwide, the new revolution in media.
Cover Story is brought to you by
Multilink. Roll with control. Use Multilink. Safe, fast, and accepted in more locations.
We've been a part of everyday Jamaican life for over 25 years. From paydays to birthdays, unexpected emergencies to anniversary celebrations, the supermarket checkout line, or paying a bill or taxes on time. Our fast, secure debit network provides reliable service so you can always depend on Multilink. Jamaican and proud, fast, secure, everywhere.
Good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for joining us here on Nationwide at 5:36. It's time for the Cover Story. I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Sanjay Lewis.
Sanjay Lewis.
How are you, Ricardo Brooks?
I am doing well. How are you, sir?
I am wonderful.
Welcome to Nationwide at 5.
Thank you, sir.
All right. So, just before we get into the Cover Story, I was presenting the newscast earlier, and I glanced up and I saw where President Biden referred to the Ukrainian president as Putin. Mm-hmm. But you're telling me he recovered?
Yes, immediately. He quickly recovered. And I think this time it's a slip of the tongue. But as we discussed, everyone will be looking on. And every mistake that the president makes is going to be under scrutiny.
He needs to go.
I agree.
At this point, it's starting to feel like elder abuse.
He's hemorrhaging.
Yeah. And I don't know. I don't think anybody wins.
No.
Anyhow. All right, so listeners, in the Cover Story this afternoon, we're turning our attention to Parliament because members of the opposition are criticizing the government members for missing meetings of Parliament's Public Administration and Appropriations Committee, PAAC.
And the PAAC is a sessional select committee of Parliament charged with examining the budgetary expenditure of the government and its agencies to ensure that expenditure is done in accordance with parliamentary approval.
Now, the criticism came on Wednesday after only 3 of the 14 PAAC members turned up for the scheduled committee meeting.
And those 3 were the chairman, Michael Phillips, and 2 of his opposition counterparts, Lisa Hanna and Fitz Jackson.
None of the 11 government members of the committee were present, and MP Jackson accused them of ignoring their parliamentary duties.
All the government members have refused to respond to the Secretary's request for responses regarding meetings, and as such, the meetings are not convened. I believe, Chairman, that the committee should convey to the leader of government business, copy to the leader of opposition business, and to the Speaker that the attitude and the failure to act by the membership, particularly on the government side, is unacceptable, and it's just plain deplorable, and it's a dereliction of duty.
Fitz Jackson, MP for South St. Catherine. This is not the first time the matter of attendance at the PAAC meetings has come to the fore.
Now, listeners would recall that Chairman Phillips threatened to shut down the committee in August last year unless government members made themselves available for meetings. At the time, he said the behavior of the government members threatened to undermine oversight and transparency in the country.
Juliet Holness, who was then a member of the PAAC, had accused Phillips of being a poor chairman. Mrs. Holness came in for strong criticism at Wednesday's meeting.
She's being accused of unilaterally cancelling scheduled meetings of the committee. The committee chairman is to write to the leader of government business in the House, Edmund Bartlett, seeking a way forward. Now, multiple efforts to reach the House Speaker for comment that Juliet Holness, they've been unsuccessful. Yeah, we don't have them yet. So we're scheduled to be joined by Chairman Michael Phillips, and we also have booked the MP for Northeast St. Elizabeth, the JLP's Delroy Slowly. And I'm interested, Sanjay, to get a sense as to, I understand that Hurricane Beryl just struck just over a week ago. And so the government members may have been in their constituencies. I'm hoping that's the reasoning. But based on yesterday's sitting, the posture of the three opposition members seems to be suggesting that this is now a recurring problem, that the government members are just not turning up at all.
Yeah, and before we came on air, Ricardo, I was looking back at some articles, and I recognize that it's quite some time that the chairman, Michael Phillips, he has been complaining about the absence of members attending meetings.
Yeah, and I can't imagine why, because the PAAC is an important committee of the parliament. You have 11 government members, and I mean, the quorum is just 3, just need 3, so they proceeded with the meeting yesterday. But one would hope that at least 2, 3 members of the government side could turn up for the meeting.
And what is also interesting, Ricardo, is that letter that was sent from the House Speaker. In fact, well, she told them not to have any committee meetings, and I'm trying to understand why.
Right, that part isn't clear to me, because the chairman said the speaker indicated that the meeting shouldn't go ahead, and I was trying to familiarize myself with the standing orders to see what authority the speaker would have to cancel the committee meetings. I couldn't find anything, and Fitz-Jackson really was strident yesterday in saying that in all his years in the parliament, he has never seen anything like that, and as far as he's concerned, she doesn't have that authority. So we've been trying to get you, Mrs. Holness, to just clarify, because obviously all we have at this point is what the opposition members have said, right? And so we've been trying to clarify what exactly happened. Is it a space constraint? Because we know the challenges with Gordon House, right? And I did hear Lisa Hanna suggesting that perhaps the PAAC needs to meet outside of the chamber, so have its own budget so that it can meet elsewhere if it is indeed a challenge of spacing.
And we have seen that happen during COVID,
where so it can be done,
meetings
for sure.
were taken to the conference center.
Right.
So it's in fact, we have seen it happening and it can be done.
Yeah, but the PAAC needs to meet, and it needs to meet with a full complement, because the work that it does is very important.
It's such an important committee.
Yeah, in scrutinizing accounts and how ministries, departments, and agencies are being run and operated. So to hear, for example, Michael Phillips saying that he's been trying to have meetings since January, and I think if I recall correctly, he said something like 3 meetings alone in the last 7 months. That's not acceptable at all.
If my memory serves me correct, this is the first in a very long time that we have had the PAAC being so inactive.
Because it's usually a very active, very
that
powerful.
and the Public Accounts Committee.
You would recall that Audley Shaw, I believe it was. Or was
Audley Shaw was at PAC.
Yeah. But he certainly used the committee hearings to good effect in terms of probing. So it's one of those committees that we absolutely need to see meeting.
And remember also, Ricardo, I think it was the PAAC that we had the Petrojam saga happening.
Yes.
Yeah, we got a lot of information just from the PAAC.
Yeah.
So it's an important committee.
Under Edmund Bartlett, it functioned properly.
Yes.
Under Wickham McNeil, my memory is that it also functioned properly. So the question is, what has gone wrong? I know there's a lopsided number in the House of Representatives now, but again, I can't imagine why 2 or 3 or even 4 members of the government side can't make themselves available for the meeting.
Yeah, I would really love to hear from the government members as to why they're not able to attend the meetings, because we understand, as you indicated, the matter of Beryl, and the MPs will hope that they're in their constituency, but at the same time, the business of the country has to go on.
Which is the point Fitz-Jackson made. And again, it predates Beryl. Because
exactly.
Since last August, I remember when I was in, I call it the other place now, when I was in the other place, and we had Michael Phillips on, we had Juliet Holness on as well. And he had similar concerns. At the time, Mrs. Holness, who was a member of the PAC, said that it really just came down to him being a poor chairman in terms of managing the schedule and the business of the committee. So we have to hear now what's the problem. We are scheduled to be joined by the chairman, Michael Phillips, and the MP for Northeast St. Elizabeth. We're trying to make contact with them. Gentlemen, you are booked to be here, but we're up on the break. Let's take the break and come back with more.
Outperform, outlast. With top performance. Jackama. Reliable, full stop, not comma. We have the expertise for drilling and demolition. We have the power tools for plumbers and electricians. Fancy select tools, 3 parts and 3 repairs. 3 parts, 3 repairs. 2 to 3 years. Hilton, available at Delta Supply, 106 Hagley Park Road. Call us at 876-302-6111-4. Delta Supply, we service what we sell.
Experience Jamaica's Olympic triumphs in Jamaica Gold, a golden spotlight.
Brought to you by Horton's Pharmacy. Horton's RX Pack for better medication management.
4 years after Arthur Wint won the men's 400 meters at the 1948 Olympics, George Roden won the event to ensure the title remained with Jamaica. Roden competed in the 1948 Summer Olympics but did not win a medal, being eliminated in the heats of the 100 meters and the semi-final of the 400 meters. He was also a member of the heavily favored Jamaican 4x400 meters relay team, but when Wint pulled a muscle in the final, their chances of a medal were gone. After a disappointing showing at the 1948 Summer Games, Roden was successful at the 1952 Olympics in Helsinki. As world record holder, he was one of the pre-race favorites in the 400 meters, which he won in a close battle with his compatriot Herb McKinley. McKinley says the photo-finish judge awarded the race to the right man.
Again, there was a photo finish, and I lost the judgment. But there was no doubt that Roden had actually beat me in this, although both of us at the same time.
You just experienced a Jamaican Olympic triumph in Jamaica Gold, a golden spotlight.
Brought to you by Horton's Pharmacy. Horton's RX Pack for better medication management.
Welcome back to Nationwide at 5 here on Nationwide Radio. My name is Sanjay Lewis.
And I'm Ricardo Brooks.
We're discussing the matter of the Public Accounts, the Public Administration and Appropriations Committee and the issue of meetings and members not attending the PAAC meetings when they are called.
So, as I said to you, listeners, last year we did have on Michael Phillips on Nationwide this morning. He had outlined some of the challenges he had at the time. Here's what he said at that time.
My intent is not to abandon meetings. My conversation with both the leader of government business, Minister Bartlett, and Minister Nigel Clark was that I will hold no more meetings of the supplementary budget to deal with supplementary budget, because the FAA Act says that for a supplementary budget to be passed or tabled in the House, after tabling, has to come to a Public Administration and Appropriations Committee meeting, deliberated, report tabled in the House, and then it can then move further in its deliberations in the lower house. So my threat was that I would hold no more of those meetings, because for this financial year, all we have been doing is meeting for dealing with supplementary budgets, have not been able to get members to agree on a meeting date to deal with other matters. We have an outstanding report from the Ministry of Education, which we started last calendar year or last financial year, We have not been able to move any further on it. We have more than one meeting called of that committee, and members asked for it to be cancelled for some reason or another. So all we have done this year, this financial year so far, is to deal with supplementary budgets. So my warning to both the leader of government business and the Minister of Finance is, until we can get meetings of dealing with the matter that the PAAC needs to be dealing with, I will not be chairing any more meetings dealing with any supplementary budget.
That's the PAAC chairman, Michael Phillips. And I see people, even on YouTube, Ricardo, indicating that Michael Phillips is a poor chairman. But the question that I want to ask, how is it that the attendance of individuals to the meeting would define him being a poor chairman? Because the issue is not even with the conducting of meetings. It's just that the members are not attending.
Yeah, right. And so that was the criticism leveled at him by Juliet Holness. And I've asked the producer to pull up those clips, because she was saying, for example, how he was structuring the agenda, the issues to be discussed. He wasn't managing the business of the committee. That's my recollection, is the criticism she had made against him. And we have another clip here where he says he was having difficulty establishing consensus on the ministries or agencies of focus for the upcoming meetings.
What has transpired since 2023 is that without me getting the full consent of the committee, majority of the members of the committee, I am not able to book a date or ministry or department for a sitting. And what you find are that once it is round robins, especially emails, hardly any member respond to it. If they do, there is always an issue of which department and the agency. When you try to get members to agree on which department and agency, the response is generally very weak, or if any at all, members do respond at all. So we keep kicking the can down the road.
That's Michael Phillips there, speaking with myself and Tana Thomas last August. Yeah, and
a continuous problem.
Yeah, it is a continuous problem. At the time, Juliet Holness, who was a member of the PAC, said that Michael Phillips was a poor chairman. She says the meeting should have been set for the entire term and not at random intervals. And that's a question I wanted to put to him. Is he trying to schedule them in a sort of,
ad hoc way?
Right. Or is there a kind of flow that he's following?
And
because
it would also
that could be part of the problem.
Yeah.
That he's trying to spring the meetings on them and then they're not available for the meetings. And I mean, let us not go around it. The opposition members have an incentive to show up.
Yes.
All parliamentarians should be present, let me just be clear. But if you are trying to embarrass the government members, then all three of you will continuously show up and show that they're not there. So it's important to find out whether and in what way he's trying to structure the meetings. That clip there, Bugs, Holness on meetings, you seen that one? Yeah, if we could just play that one as to what she said then.
Set all meeting dates, approve all meeting dates with the majority of the committee first.
You book the dates for the entire term there. You're saying you don't need to be coming around to the members again to ask them to agree to a meeting, because all of that would have been locked in.
Absolutely. Could even do it before the budget is completed, where he can sit down with the members, because you don't need the budget to be completed to meet, But because you want to have enough information to discuss is why you would wait some 6 to 8 weeks to allow enough activities to have taken place within the ministries, agencies and departments to come to have a discussion. But we can literally meet immediately after the budget, drawing the budget, and sit down and say, okay, as soon as the committee is convened, this is going to be the agenda.
And that's
Juliet
Holness speaking recently on Nationwide.
The clip where she calls Michael Phillips Bugs an incompetent chairman.
It is the incompetence of Chairman Phillips that causes him to be in this position. You cannot haphazardly just change meetings. Ministries are not ready because of the time you set. You have reports coming to us. It is adjusted the night before or the morning of the meeting. He needs to get his act together. Manage. He should just ask them to find a new chairperson within the opposition.
Oh.
I very clearly remember Mrs. Holness was quite strident. And then there's another clip where she says he should better apply himself to the job.
The chairman is intent on misleading. He should spend some time learning how to manage and marshal his committee, because that is his responsibility. It has been done successfully by chairmen in the past on both sides of the house.
That's a point.
It is a point.
Yeah.
It's a fair point, because and it's a point I wanted to put to him this afternoon. What has gone wrong under his watch?
Yes.
Because the committee was a very functional and effective committee, as far back as I can recall, as far back as Audley Shaw.
In fact,
so what has happened here?
Those are the only two committees, Ricardo, growing up that function.
Let me be very honest, actually. I didn't know until not so long ago that Parliament had other committees.
Yes.
Because you always heard about the PAC
and the
PAAC.
Yeah.
And those two functioned very well. So what is the challenge? I'm having a hard time understanding what the challenge is, and again, the specific criticism that as Speaker, Mrs. Holness unilaterally cancelled the meetings. Why would she do that? At the time in August last year, she said she was willing to meet with Mr. Phillips on the way forward.
I am going to meet with Chairman Phillips after this, and I am going to assist him in sitting down, recording what is the process to use. I'm sure you will have it good after this, and sitting down. And if he doesn't call a meeting, I will be the one to ask that the very first meeting we treat it as a retreat to iron out the schedule.
So the question is, did they have
that meeting? Yeah.
Yeah. Did they have it, and did they iron it out such that so many months later...
Well, clearly they didn't iron it out.
We're still having a problem.
Yeah.
It's just not adding up to
And again, Ricardo, it is a very important point. We need to understand something must have gone awry. Why is it that the previous chairman, they were able to have meetings consistently?
Yeah.
So it is a point.
With perhaps a more evenly divided Parliament.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't add up at all. It doesn't add up. Listeners, we were due to be joined by the chairman of the PAAC, Michael Phillips, and also a member of Parliament for North East St. Elizabeth, Delroy Slowly. We were having difficulty reaching either gentleman. Dana, if you could just provide me the names of all the government members. So Dwight Sibley's, Tova Hamilton, Tamika Davis, Philip Henriquez, Heroy Clark, Krista Lee, and Dave Brown. Yeah. Mike Henry also technically sits on the committee, but he hasn't been to Parliament in quite some time.
I didn't even remember he's still a member.
Yes, he is. He is indeed. Yeah, so I don't know. If one of them could provide some clarity as to what the situation is. Chairman Phillips is saying you all are not turning up, and Fitzjackson says you're being derelict in your duties.
Could it be a boycott?
But why?
Again, because of the leadership from the chairman.
But if that is the case, then they need to
say something.
Yeah. You don't just not turn up. I'm wanting to think that it's probably the issue Mrs. Holness raised last year, which is the ad hoc attempt at meetings. Yeah? She was saying at the time, my recollection was that as the chairman of the Constituency Development Fund, what she did was make sure she had a clear schedule for the whole year. So members were certain when the meetings would be had and could make themselves available
because
in advance.
We know the MPs, they have other responsibilities. They have to be in their constituencies. So they need advance notice so that they can plan.
I also want to say, though, considering the pretty penny we're now paying them,
it's their responsibility, right?
They need to be in the Parliament to do the parliamentary business. And the oversight that parliamentary committees provide, that is crucial to governance.
And remember the charge that the Prime Minister had given at the start of the parliamentary period, that we will have committees that are very active.
That hasn't panned out. Hasn't panned out in many ways. Mr. Phillips Mikhail Phillips had said that the idea of booking meetings in advance was not a reasonable solution due to the lack of responses from members.
That, or you try to have meetings on a weekly basis?
When the members cannot agree on a meeting date, what the norm is, normally you don't book multiple dates unless you are completed with a ministry, departments, and agents. Right?
And that's not true.
No, Juliet, believe me. I've been on the committee from 2012. I have asked the members to respond to the emails. I have even had that discussion with Mrs. Holness, to respond to the emails so that we can progress. I don't need to make up this thing that I'm having challenges. For what?
But what happened before? Isn't it that they would have planned the meetings in advance under the previous chairman?
Perhaps that's where we need to seek answers.
Maybe we need to speak to a former chairman.
We need to find out how the other chairman managed to ensure that the business of the committee was done. Yeah, but that's all the time we have for now. Yeah, we'll be back at 6:40. It's time for the headlines.
Cover Story was brought to you by
Multilink. Roll with control. Use Multilink. Safe, fast, and accepted in more locations.
Say hello to peace of mind and goodbye to worry with Guardian Life's new Ultimate Provider Plan and secure your medical expenses in the event of critical illness today. Call 888-367-5433 for details.
The time by Guardian Life is
6 o'clock.
Nationwide headlines at 6.
Good evening with the headlines at 6. I'm Shalois Michael. The teenage daughter of Omar Collymore and murdered businesswoman Simone Campbell Collymore has told the Home Circuit Court that her role model, her mother, was taken from her due to the selfish actions of her father. Her heartfelt victim impact statement was read into the court record Thursday during the sentencing hearing of her father murder convict Omar Collymore. Dana Davey reports. The union of Simone and Omar Collymore produced 2 children, a son and a daughter. At the time of Simone's death, her daughter was 8 years old and her son was 5. In her victim impact statement, Simone's daughter expressed how hard it has been for her and her brother since their mother was killed. In the statement, she addressed her father.
You took away the rock of our family. I have been in therapy for about 10 times because I have bad dreams or thinking people going to hurt me like you did to my mom.
The young Collymore stated that she went to a school function and saw how the mothers were present, taking pictures and fixing their children's hair, and the fathers were also present. She continued addressing her father.
I am still trying to repair and forgive you. I know we weren't close because you pushed me away because you loved my brother and pushed me away. Because of selfishness, you killed my role model. I hope God help you find him.
She expressed that she's doing better now, but noted that she's concerned about her brother, who she said is not showing any emotions. She added,
Deep down, I know he is hurting that his role model hurt his mom.
She continued to address her father.
Your family has not been in touch or asked how their grandchildren are doing. Your family gave up on us. My last name isn't even my last name.
To conclude her statement, she said to her father,
I hope when you listen to this, you have a bitter feeling in your heart and think about what you have caused your children to go through and what kind of father you are.
Evidently perturbed by his daughter's statement, Omar was heard mumbling to himself in the dock. He was then observed speaking to his attorney, Diane Jobson. The defense will make submissions when the sentence hearing resumes on Tuesday morning at 10. Dana Davey for Nationwide News.
President of the Jamaica Teachers Association, JTA Leighton Johnson, is expressing concern that repairs to schools damaged by Hurricane Beryl will not be completed in time for the resumption of classes come September. Preliminary estimates indicate that the country's education sector suffered close to $800 million in damage. Mr. Johnson is urging the Education Ministry to fast-track repair efforts.
What we've seen based on our tour, especially those areas that have been severely impacted, is that there presents a very short window for the Ministry of Education to get these repairs done. Some schools have been extensively damaged. There are schools that have several buildings without roofs at this time, schools that have had their windows knocked out, and there are others that have just minimal damage. So we are asking as best as possible for them to speed up these processes. And we know that in many regards, if these projects are not completed, then at the start of school for September, in many regards, it's going to be uncomfortable for both students and the teachers.
The JTA president is calling for a special fund to deal with natural disasters that impacted the country's learning institutions. He made reference to last October's earthquake, noting that several schools that were impacted are yet to be fixed.
As an association, we are making the call that it is urgent for the Ministry of Education to have in place emergency funds that can be activated in times like these with natural disasters, hurricanes, earthquakes, floods, that kind of thing. This fund is essential to assist in ensuring the sector's resilience, because what we have seen after natural disaster, in many instances, schools take a very long time to repair the infrastructure. Coming out of the earthquake last year, there are schools that are left to be repaired.
Mr. Johnson is also proposing insuring schools against natural disasters.
Start thinking about insurance, how our schools or educational institutions are insured. This is something that we perhaps need to think about. It is a direction that the ministry needs to seriously contemplate so that in eventualities like these, there is a buffer, there is a cushion, there are funds that our educational institutions can rely on to effect the necessary repairs just to ensure that the process of teaching and learning is not disrupted.
Leighton Johnson, president of the JTA. Those were the headlines at 6. I'm Shaloy Smichael. Sports is next.
Guard against mosquito-borne diseases. Following the passage of Hurricane Beryl, members of the public are reminded to be vigilant in order to prevent mosquito-borne diseases such as dengue. Here are some tips to help you. Search around the home for places where water may have settled and clear them. Use insect repellent containing DEET. Use mosquito nets. Use mosquito destroyer. Put screens on windows and doors. Avoid places with standing water or garbage piles. For further information, please contact the Health Emergency Operations Center at 888-1-LOVE. That's 888-663-5683.
Jamaica is here again. Phosphorage Super Summer Sale, July 1 to August 31. Come get your wires, breakers, solar flood lamps, LED bulbs, ceiling fans, and so much more. Call 876-937-5099 or visit us in Kingston, Mandeville, Draxall, and Montego Bay. Up to 60% off the summer. Get your solar panels starting from $17,600. Come shop, come save at Phosphorage Super Summer Sale, July 1 to August 31. See you there at Phosphorage. Open Sundays.
Good evening with your sports report. I am Alric Swaby. We kick things off with some football as former national men's senior football team head coach Hamir Hallgrimson says the main reason he took the Irish national football coaching job is because the federation is professional and treating him with respect. Hallgrimson has been handed the responsibility of taking the Irish to the World Cup finals in 2026, replacing Stephen Kenny. The Icelanders say he is in a good place now.
I really liked the administration, how they approached their professionalism and how they kind of treated me with respect, etc. So that was another thing that really impressed me.
Hallgrimsson, who was in charge of the Jamaica national team for just over 2 years, says he was approached earlier this year but told his new employers that he could not discuss until the Copa America.
It was some time back, I heard, but like others that kind of contacted, I told them I would be focused on Copa America, and we decide after the Copa what we will do. So no, it was just an honor to be thought of as the next possible coach for the Republic.
Hamir Hallgrimsson, meanwhile, Hallgrimsson will be paid the Jamaican equivalent of $110 million a year to coach the Ireland national team. The 57-year-old Icelander was unveiled on Wednesday as Stephen Kenny's replacement. Hallgrimsson will be paid €650,000 per year to coach the Irish, but has been given 17 months to turn things around. Hallgrimsson's contract runs until after the 2026 World Cup qualification campaign. The Irish FA says Hallgrimsson was identified earlier this year as their number one candidate. His first game in charge of Ireland will be a Nations League clash against England on September 7 and then against Greece a few days later. Hallgrimsson resigned more than a week ago as Jamaica's coach by mutual consent and after the country's participation at the Copa America. Now on to cricket. The West Indies reached 79 for 6 at stumps, still trailing by 171 runs against England on day 2 of the first test at Lord's. Captain Craig Brathwaite 4, Michael Lewis 14, Kirk Mackenzie a duck, Alec Athanes 22, Jason Holder 20 and Kevin Hodge 4 are the batsmen back in the pavilion. Wicketkeeper Joshua De Silva is not out on 8. James Anderson, Gus Atkinson and Ben Stokes has so far taken 2 wickets. Earlier, England took 200-run lead after being bowled out for 371 in their first innings. Zach Crawley made 76, Ollie Pope 57, Joe Root 68, Harry Brook 50 and Jamie Smith 70. Jaden Seals took 4 wickets. Scores so far, West Indies 121 and 79 for 6, England 371. Seals says they were in trouble from the first innings.
I think we bowled pretty well in parts. I didn't think we were as consistent as we wanted to be throughout the entire day. We had partnerships and spells where we were exactly how we wanted to. And yeah, it's pretty frustrating to look up at the scoreboard and see the position we're in now. Probably if we batted better on the first day, we may not have been in this position, but that's all in the past and we just have to move forward with it.
Jaden Seals. Jamaica made a solid start with the defence of their regional under-19 men's cricket title against the Windward Islands at Arnesville in St. Vincent and the Grenadines today. Tamara Redwood 6 for 44 and Michael Clark 4 for 26 combined to dismiss the Windwards for 135, with West Indies under-19 player Stefan Pascal making 26. Jamaica replied with 146 for 8 declared, thanks to Adrian Weir 38, Brian Barnes 30, Stephen Wedderburn 28 and Clark 24. Kirk Murray bagged 4 for 34, bowling for the Windwards, who closed the opening day on 27 without loss, batting a second time, an overall lead of 16 entering tomorrow's final day. At Sion Hill, Barbados were bowled out for 200 by Trinidad and Tobago, who reached 51 for 3 in reply at stumps. Zataria Prescott, 55, and Joshua Morris, 43, made most runs for the Bajans against Jason Agard, 4 for 50. While at Park Hill, Guyana were bowled out for 111 by the Leeward Islands, who closed the day on 84 for 2. Nathan Edwards bagged 5 for 22 for the Leewards. Jamaica under-19 women went down by 7 runs via the Duckworth-Lewis method against the Leeward Islands in the West Indies Rising Star Women's Championships at the Brian Lara Cricket Academy today. Batting first, the Leewards made 124 for 6 off their 20 overs. Captain Jazara Claxton made 29. In reply, the Jamaicans reached 55 for 3 off 11 overs when play was called off. Abigail Bryce made 15 and Krishana Mackenzie 13 not out. Now on to track and field, as there has been at least one change to the Jamaica track and field squad selected to represent the country at the Olympic Games in Paris this summer. Former Calabar High School standout Kemar Farquharson, who was picked as the reserve for the mixed open 4x400 meters relay, has been ruled out with an injury. Anthony Cox of Chase Athletics, who finished 6th in 46.20 seconds at the National Championships last month, has been brought in as a replacement. Meanwhile, a number of the officials are traveling today to Stuttgart in Germany for this weekend's start of the Olympic training camp ahead of the Games. The Olympic Games start on July 26 with athletics programs set to begin on August 1. Nationwide 90 FM will have live and exclusive radio coverage of the Games. Olympic champion Hansa Parchment will be defending his title in Paris after finishing third in the 110 meters hurdles at the National Senior Championships. Parchment posted 13.19 seconds in the final of the championships. He believed he could have gone faster if he had not looked across the lanes at his opponents.
I made a few mistakes over the course of the race, but over the race, I'm on the team, so I'm very happy with that. I think I should not have looked across. I should have just kept my head forward and keep driving to the line. But as I said, thankful for a good race. Looking forward to the Olympics. I have, and I will definitely use the time as wisely as possible so that I will be ready in time.
Hansa Parchment. Meanwhile, Orlando Bennett will be making his first Olympic appearance in Paris. Bennett finished second at the championships in 13.18 seconds, the same as the winner, Rashid Broadbell. Bennett says the adjustments he made to his technique early in the season paid off.
I made so many World Champs team, it's still surreal to me that this is my first Olympic team, this is my fourth national team representing Jamaica. And I'm just truly grateful. Early season actually was trying the 7 steps and it wasn't working out for me. I went to indoors and I just reevaluated, went to my coach, we just worked on it, got better, got advice from Coach Mills, my friends around me, so it was a work in progress and I'm just grateful. As always, I'm going to go there and do my best. Really want to make a final, major final, that's on my bucket list, so that's my aim as always. Go back to the drawing board, refocus and just come again.
Orlando Bennett. The 3 national champions will be on show on the 9th stop of the Wonder Diamond League circuit in Monaco tomorrow. Rashid Broadbell will contest the 110 meters hurdles. He can expect strong competition from reigning world champion Grant Alloway of the USA. Malik James King will line up in the men's 400 meters hurdles. Shanika Ricketts will be the standard bearer in the women's triple jump. Meanwhile, Andrew Hudson will run in the men's 200 meters. On to bodybuilding, as bodybuilders Brianna Johnson and Lecola Newman say their triumph at the recent Jabfa Novice Junior Classic and Elite Bodybuilding Championships have increased their appetite for more success. Johnson was the winner of the Junior Bikini Wellness and the Novice Bikini Wellness categories. The 22-year-old operations manager at Dealport, Jamaica, is already planning a route to international recognition.
For sure. I'm thinking about the next show that's in August. Definitely will be going to nationals that's in September. Hoping I get invited to the invitationals. For me, my big goal is actually to become a pro athlete. So for sure, putting in the work continuously. I'm in the gym every day, 5 times a week. Maybe 2 to 3 hours. So for me, it's really, as Lecola said, it's my solace. It's the place where I go to, I feel most at peace. I love working out. So that for me was maybe one of the least difficult things for me, to go in the gym every day, put in the work. I enjoy that. So for sure, you will definitely be seeing me on the stage September.
Brianna Johnson. Meanwhile, Newman was the winner of the novice women's physique. The 29-year-old described herself as humble but hungry.
I'll be doing the nationals this September. I guess it depends on how you place. You get invited to the invitationals. Apart from that, I'm just loving being in the gym. It's always been a hobby of me. It's always been an escape for me. It's always been therapeutic. So for right now, that's where my head is at. I am thinking about powerlifting next year. Well, let's see how that goes. I want to get stronger.
Lecola Newman. It's now time for the Nationwide Olympic Fact, sponsored by Rainforest Caribbean.
This is Nationwide's Olympic Facts, brought to you by Rainforest Caribbean. Make delicious moments.
Did you know that in 393 AD, the Olympic Games were cancelled and didn't resume until more than 1,500 years later? Yes, that's a fact. Emperor Theodosius I, a Roman ruler, banned the Greek Olympics due to the religious element of the celebration. He considered the Olympics to be a pagan festival which had no place in his Christian country. So that was the end of the Olympics until 1896, when a man named Baron Pierre de Coubertin started a revival of the Games. He called this new event the Modern Olympics, and it's still going today.
That was Nationwide's Olympic Facts. Brought to you by Rainforest Caribbean. Make delicious moments.
Okay, there you have Nationwide's Olympic Fact, sponsored by Rainforest Caribbean. I'm Alex Ribby, and that's your sports.
For all your scales and food processing equipment, call Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited at 876-968-9612-5. The time by Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited is
6:19.
For hard-to-get medications, over-the-counter and chemotherapy drugs, visit Dean's Pharmacy Pepin. When others don't have it, we do. Dean's Pharmacy. Feeling better starts right here.
The temperature by Dean's Pharmacy, feeling better, starts right here, is
31 degrees Celsius in City Kingston and 30 in Montego Bay.
We are the best at what we do. At Hose Assembly and Supply Limited, we supply hose fittings and tools. We guarantee we can't be beaten when price and quality are combined. You brand us the Hose and Tool Boss because we deliver the most effective industrial solutions. Come in and experience the joy of shopping with Hose Assembly and Supply Limited. Call us 876-923-3936 or visit 173 Hagley Park Road, 2 Charlesworth Crescent or Montego Bay Trade Center. Hose Assembly and Supply Limited. More than just hoses. Now open every Sunday.
Presenting another finalist in the 2024 Jamaica Festival Song Competition.
Hi Jamaica, this is Orion. My song is called Proud Jamaica.
When I look and see the land, when I look and see the sun, I am a proud Jamaican. Yes, I am a proud Jamaican. When I look and see my people,
Jamaica Festival 2024.
This summer, transform your summer body with Express Fitness Gym. For just $9,500 on AutoPay, you'll get access to all our locations 24/7. Enjoy free classes, fully air-conditioned facilities, showers, and changing rooms. Plus, our certified trainers are here to help you reach your goals. Visit Express Fitness Gym today. Your goal is our mission. Find a location near you or sign up now at pay.expressfitnessja.com.
I pursue opportunities.
I prepare for opportunities.
I plan for opportunities.
With Sagicor e-Invest, you can prepare, plan for, and pursue IPO opportunities. Browse IPOs, review IPO details and prospectuses. Select and apply for a featured IPO.
I-P-O.
With Sagicor e-Invest. Think wealth. Visit sagicor.com.
Experience Jamaica's Olympic triumphs in Jamaica Gold, a golden spotlight.
Brought to you by Horton's Pharmacy. Horton's RX Pack for better medication management.
After Donald Quarry's triumph in the men's 200 meters final at the 1976 Games, Jamaica's athletes would go another 20 years without winning Olympic gold. That cycle was ended in style by Dion Hemmings at the 1996 Olympics in Atlanta. Hemmings became the first ever Jamaican woman to win Olympic gold, taking the 400 meters hurdles in an Olympic record of 52.82 seconds.
And the world champions coming back on Hemmings now, and Buford on the inside. They're absolutely neck and neck, and Hemmings, is she strong enough to take this Olympic title? Batten on the near side, she stuttered in. Hemmings and Batten, and these three, and Hemmings is going to do it. Hemmings wins it, she's the champion. Batten the silver medalist, Beaufort Bailey the bronze, 52.82, a personal best, a new Olympic record. She's always promised it, but this year she could hurdle, and this year she proved she had the strength. Bronze medalist last time, gold medalist this time. Dion Hemmings is the Olympic champion.
You just experienced a Jamaican Olympic triumph in Jamaica Gold, a golden spotlight.
Brought to you by Horton's Pharmacy. Horton's RX Pack for better medication management.
Public Opinion is brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, Industrial Automation and Control Solutions.
Good evening, and welcome to Public Opinion. I'm Roby Ann Williams. A special good evening to our friends on our YouTube platform. Thank you guys for tuning in. You know, we want to hear from you as always on some topics, on some issues that may even be affecting you. So we ask you to weigh in live in the comments section on our Public Opinion. So let's get to it. Hurricane Beryl. Prime Minister Andrew Holness says he will be stepping up efforts to assist people who have been severely impacted by the passage of Hurricane Beryl. Speaking during Nationwide at 5 on Monday earlier this week, Prime Minister Holness noted that the need for supplies is significant.
The management of the immediate response, water, food, we're going to tighten up on that because in my mind, the core things that people would want to have just after a disaster. My last report as it relates to that is that so far the Ministry of Labour and Social Security would have, as of today, end of today, would have reached about 4,664 families. That would work out to about 18,000 persons with food packages with supplies to last them for 4 days. I'm going to try and step that up a little bit more so that everyone who is in need can get, but I want to seek to increase the number of packages, the number of persons, and the number of days they get support. So in that area, we're going to try and move a little bit faster.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness, and I must point out that he was speaking during Nationwide at 5 earlier this week on Monday. He made mention of some statistics there. We suspect that, that may not be the case as of today. PM Holness notes that every dollar of relief that is spent will go to the intended beneficiaries. He has restated that the administration's pledge to ensure transparency and accountability in the distribution process. Now, in Public Opinion this evening, we're asking, on a scale of 1 to 5, how is the government managing the Beryl recovery? On our social media platform, Facebook, Prince Wellington say imago give them a 4. Jennifer Jones says the government is doing the best so far. Let me see. Marie is saying, compared to Texas and Grenada, uno too ungrateful. Okay. Beverly Barrett says the best they can. Look at Texas in the great United States. Philip Jackson is saying, I think it's a bit too soon to say, but one thing for certain, Jamaica is in a better place than in the past under this administration to do more. I'll give them a 3.5. Andrew Freighter says government control road, most of them clear. Bridges will have to go to tender. The light is private company. The welfare of those affected, 3.5. Visibility of the minister of various ministries, 3.5. Wow. Prime Minister's input and plans, he's giving the Prime Minister a 4. Water mostly depends on the JPS, so we'll wait on that. I expect you're talking about the pump and all of that. The steps taken to ensure the country from national disaster, 5, and that's good. Forward thinking overall, he's giving them an average of 4. Okay, Rosalind Buck says they're trying their best, so she's giving them a 4. CJ says, excellent, full marks, 5 out of 5, while Michelle Bernard says, locks. I give them a 4. The whole of St. Elizabeth and Southwest St. Bess mash up bad, and things are really coming on faster than I expected. Raymond Anderson says, me just want back current, I'm a good. While Natalie Winter is giving them a 4, so too Annette Wheeler. If you're just joining us, we're asking you to rate on a scale from 1 to 5. Rate how the government is managing Beryl's recovery. Honorable Sally Porteous is saying on X, I believe very well. The organization has been superb. The communication clear and concise. The speed in restoring electricity to most places. The shelter, the water. The government was like a oiled machinery. Okay. A well-oiled machinery. That's what you were saying right there. So she's saying that the government was like a well-oiled machinery. Don Messi is giving the government a 4.5, and he believes that the government's management of burial recovery has been very good so far. Let me see. Chang 2023 says, after a week of no light, no network, Rocky Point and Portland Cottage. He's showing us an image here. Fortunately, we can't get it up. Claude Russell says, I don't live in the disaster zone, but comparing to Ivan and Gilbert, very fast. A 4 from me. Archangel is saying, I'll give them a 5. Response was swift and communication efficient and timely. Utilities, on the other hand, failed to prepare adequately over the years for a natural disaster such as Hurricane Beryl. Brescia is giving the government 5. And she said, ask me about JPS. ... Dion Mitchell says the PM is leading admirably from the front. Special commendations to the frontline responders, including the utility companies and state agencies, NWA, JPS. Let me see. Teacher's Child is also giving a 5, not because they have gotten it right. Nobody knows what right looks like after a disaster, but they are forward thinking. All right. A 4.8 here coming from Haylett, Trisha. And Elon Muscadmire says 4.5. Sean Forbes says 5. Ewan Bury says 5. All right, let me see on our Instagram platform real quick before we touch over YouTube. Everything Jamaica is saying 5, that they're definitely doing their best. Willie Ryan Wilson says, I'd give them a 2.8. They were not fully prepared, but they did very well in other areas, like the shelters were up and ready with more people than we ever had in the past. Jet Slate is saying excellent at a crisis management. 4 out of 5 coming here from J. Mar. Consistent updates and dialogue. Good post-hurricane response. Natasha is saying bad. Up till now, I don't see a councillor or MP. Right now, mosquito eat. I go kill we. Okay, and she says St. James, no light for 9 days, no water, no service from either network. And she's saying that's in Adelphi. Seems like we drop off of the map. Wow. Hands down, 5 coming from Marcy here. So far, Janku is saying still she's giving them a 4. Still too early to tell. Let me see. I'm seeing a lot of 4.5 here. I'm seeing a 5. I'm seeing a 1 coming from Marsha. Also, I'm seeing 1 from Boo Collection. Hotter Fire Promotion say 4. All right, let me skip to YouTube. On a scale of 1 to 5, my YouTubers, how is the government managing the burial recovery? Leonard Seville says 5. Grant A says 5. Michelle Ray, this government is working, 4.5. Juliet Sanchez saying 5. On the day of the hurricane, the PM was out and about leading from the front. Who am I says Vaz 3.75. Andrew Holness 0. Wow, who am I? Wallace says 4.6 for the government and 4.5 for NNN. All right, big up yourself, Wallace. Big up yourself. Herman is saying 5 out of 5. They're doing a great job. The top mark is 5, Barbara Ellington. So you're rating them on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being the best or you know. How is the government managing the recovery of burial? Errol Morris says 4, a very caring government. I'm seeing Iona Davis, excellent 4. Donna Llewellyn says 4.5. The way they were prepared before and after is exceptional. Communication too is way up 100%. I have no electricity. I don't cast blame at the government. All right, I'm seeing a lot of 5 out of 5, 4 plus 4.5, fully 5 coming from Davian Paddy. Good job. Donna Thompson says 5, forward thinkers. David Barrett 5. I'm seeing a whole lot of 5. I'm seeing a whole lot of 5s here on a scale of 1 to 5 rating the government. Let me see. Angelou Barnett is saying the government team is doing a very good job with the hurricane recovery. I'm seeing 4.2 here. Let me see if I can get in a few more real quick. I'm seeing a lot of 5 out of 5. Donald Scarlett is saying 0. Okay. Nathan Gale, I give the okay, wow. I give the PNP 10. We're talking about the government's recovery. But yes, Prince Charles says 5. Anissa Bridget says 4+. They're doing an excellent job. All right, guys, thank you so much for participating in this evening's public opinion. Of course, some people say it's too early to tell. It's too early to tell. But we do welcome every little assistance that is offered. It's very, very much needed, especially in the worst affected parishes, St. Elizabeth, Manchester, Clarendon. The people them need help. Thank you guys so much. Do stay tuned for the business report up next.
Public Opinion was brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, Industrial Automation and Control Solutions.
Drive the most exciting new vehicles in Jamaica. Schedule your 2024 Ford Ranger pickup or Ford Everest 7-seater SUV test drive now. Call or visit KIG today.
The time by KIG is
6:34.
Don't let poor vision hold your children back. IQ Optical gives complimentary standard reflection-free lenses to children and teachers until May 31. Conditions apply.
The temperature by IQ Optical is
31 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 30 out west in Montego Bay. Good evening and welcome to Nationwide's Business Report. I'm Robeanne Williams. Let's get to it. Price rises in the U.S. cooled in June, building hopes that the world's largest economy is moving on from the bout of high inflation that hit after the pandemic. According to the Labor Department, prices rose 3% over the 12 months to June as lower petrol prices helped to deliver the slowest price inflation in a year. It marked the third month in a row that inflation has fallen, easing financial pressures on households and potentially clearing the way for the U.S. Central Bank to cut interest rates as soon as September. Now, the Federal Reserve's key lending rate has stood at more than 5.3%, a roughly two-decade high since last year. Fed officials say high borrowing costs are weighing on the economy, helping to reduce the pressures pushing up prices. From May to June, prices dropped 0.1%, the first outright monthly decline in years. And in the currency markets at the close of trading today, it cost 157 Jamaican dollars and 48 cents to buy $1 US, $201, $1 Jamaican dollars and 91 cents to buy $1 British pound, and 115 Jamaican dollars and 41 cents to buy the Canadian dollar. That's the business report. I'm Robeanne Williams. Good evening.
Live exquisite this year with new arrival Black & Chrome fixtures for your home at Unique Living. Select from a wide variety of rain shower systems, fabulous faucets, and stylish sinks to suit your kitchen and bathrooms. Get uncompromised quality and style unique to you. Shop everything new at Unique Living, Jamaica's leading shower and faucets provider. Visit shop number 630 Dunrobin Avenue, Kingston 10, or call 876-755-3661 to 2.
Guard against mosquito-borne diseases. Following the passage of Hurricane Beryl, members of the public are reminded to be vigilant in order to prevent mosquito-borne diseases such as dengue. Here are some tips to help you. Search around the home for places where water may have settled and clear them. Use insect repellent containing DEET. Use mosquito nets. Use mosquito destroyer. Put screens on windows and doors. Avoid places with standing water or garbage piles. For further information, please contact the Health Emergency Operations Center at 888-1-LOVE. That's 888-663-5683.
I'm Dennis Brooks.
I'm Alan Campbell.
I'm Floyd Green.
And I'm Garth Williams. Catch us on the Jamaican Dads podcast right here on Nationwide 90 FM, Thursdays at 8 p.m. with a repeat on Sundays at 6 p.m.
The Jamaican Dads podcast is all about providing men with a healthy, safe, and functional forum to tackle many of the taboo topics that concern our masculinity.
Like everyone else out there, we're dads of varying amounts of experience who come from different backgrounds and often view the world differently.
We're definitely not perfect, but we're all brethren and we're all committed to this piece of rock called Jamaica.
Too often, there are no safe spaces for men to explore the issues which are important to us.
Plus, most of the content out there about parenthood is produced by women, for women. So we think it is important that we be the change we want to see.
Follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Jamaican Dads with a Z.
And definitely join us here on Nationwide 90 FM every Thursday at 8 p.m. with a repeat on Sundays at 6 p.m. for the Jamaican Dads podcast. It's a revolution in media.
You're officially invited to the grand opening of Bodyscape Spa and Grooming Club on Friday, July 12 at 1 p.m. Visit 34A Mannings Hill Road or tune in to a special edition of the E-Zone from 1 to 3 p.m. for the celebration, unveiling, and ribbon cutting. Embrace the tropical theme by showing out in your favorite shade of green. Watch the E-Zone tour the spa facilities on our YouTube channel at Nationwide 90 FM Live. The grand opening promises live music, entertainment, exclusive opening day discounts on spa services, and so much more. Let your taste buds dance with catering offered by world-renowned chef Brian Lumley. So don't miss the live and special broadcast of the E-Zone from 1 to 3 p.m. on July 12, 2024. Catch them at 34A Mannings Hill Road, Kingston. All this and more only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by Bodyscape Spa and Grooming Club.
Nationwide 90 FM is at it again. Team Revolution will clear every hurdle and sprint to the finish line as we cover the games of the 33rd Olympiad from Paris, the city of love.
Winning by daylight and setting a world record, 9.68. The wind is okay.
Nationwide's coverage is powered by our diamond sponsor, KFC. It's finger-licking good across all locations island-wide.
Chewy flavor with delight. It really, really nice. May I say it twice?
The time by Jamaica Mountain Peak Golden Turmeric Latte is...
It's 6:40. Nation's Business is brought to you by BH Paints. Paint it, love it with BH Paints.
Good evening. Thank you so much for staying with us here on Nationwide at 5. It's time for the Nation's Business. And just before we get to the segment, the incumbent president of the United States is having a media conference live, his first such media conference since at least November last year. He's having this media conference on the sidelines of the NATO summit being held in Washington, D.C. And of course, listeners, all eyes are on the president because, as you know, he had a disastrous debate performance against his rival, Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm.
And Joe Biden is...
It's a do or die moment, Ricardo.
And I think he's dying.
Yep.
If it's a do or die, I think he's dying. Because
he just confused the name of his vice president.
He called Kamala Harris Trump.
Oh my God.
And I just saw when I was coming in here, Sanjay, Fox News headline, blaring bold, Biden confuses Kamala Harris for Trump.
The time has come.
It makes me sad to see what's happening because I think he's a good guy.
He is.
Genuinely a good guy. And it's just age.
I think the time has come that the Democrats must accept that they need to change. They need to change him. They have to, or else he's going to lose.
And then the challenge is that gaffe calling Kamala Harris Trump came after calling Zelensky Putin. Well, The president is on his feet. He's fielding questions now. And it should be noted, I wonder if because he was delivering his prepared remarks at that point.
Yes.
So,
but his response, no. His response about calling his Vice President Trump was in response to a question he was asked by a journalist.
Oh, Lord.
Yes.
All right, so he's fielding questions. Let's see how he fares. We're turning our attention now to Beryl's impact on schools. The president of the Jamaica Teachers Association, JTA, Leighton Johnson, is expressing concern that repairs to schools damaged by Hurricane Beryl will not be completed in time for the resumption of classes in September.
Preliminary estimates indicate that the country's education sector suffered close to $800 million in damage. Mr. Johnson is urging the Education Ministry to fast-track repair efforts.
What we've seen based on our tour, especially those areas that have been severely impacted, is that there presents a very short window for the Ministry of Education to get these repairs done. Some schools have been extensively damaged. There are schools that have several buildings without roofs at this time, schools that have had their windows knocked out, and there are others that have just minimal damage. So we are asking as best as possible for them to speed up these processes. And we know that in many regards, if these projects are not completed, then at the start of school for September, in many regards, it's going to be uncomfortable for both students and the teachers.
Leighton Johnson there, the president of the JTA. Listeners, over 100 schools have suffered damage from the hurricane. Beryl stripped several schools of their roofs and caused extensive damage to classrooms and windows.
The JTA president is calling for a special fund to deal with natural disasters that impact the country's learning institutions. He made reference to last October's earthquake, noting that several schools that were impacted are yet to be repaired.
Mr. Johnson is also proposing insuring schools against natural disasters.
Start thinking about insurance, how our schools or educational institutions are insured. This is something that we perhaps need to think about. It is a direction that the ministry needs to seriously contemplate so that in eventualities like these, there is a buffer, there is a cushion, there are funds that our educational institutions can rely on to effect the necessary repairs just to ensure that the process of teaching and learning is not disrupted.
Leighton Johnson there, the JTA president.
Well, to discuss further, we're now joined by the president of the Jamaica Association of Chairmen of Secondary Institutions, JACSI, and that's Courtney Winter. And we're also being joined by the public relations officer at the Jamaica Association of Principals of Infant and Primary Schools, Paul Scott. Gentlemen, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
Let me start with you, Courtney Winter. The JTA is calling for an emergency fund to be activated to help schools whenever there's a natural disaster. Is this something you think is necessary?
Let me just say this. And I also heard the JTA president calling for insurance. Mm-hmm. And I just now did a back of the envelope calculation. We have about 1,000 schools, public schools in Jamaica. And if I were to assume that the assets of each school is somewhere closer to anywhere between $1 to $3 billion, that includes buildings, the internet network, some schools may have buses, and so forth. We could be talking about insuring assets somewhere closer to $2 to $4 trillion. If I were to also assume that about 1% of that would be a premium to do such a insurance, we're talking about anywhere between $20 to $30 billion. So we have to really think about how practical these things are. Mm-hmm. And I'm not so sure that the government don't even insure its fleet for the JCF and so forth. So that's not a practical idea. The whole idea about an emergency fund should be contained in the budget. I think that's a possibility. I also think that some of the funds that the Ministry of Finance spoke about that were triggered in terms of the disaster funds, some of that can be used to repair schools.
Mm-hmm. But if I could just follow up there, Mr. Winter, because in a situation where we're seeing recurring climate events and we're seeing the effects of climate change, wouldn't it make better sense or some sense to ensure that we have some kind of long-term insurance policy such that as these events happen, we can pull on it rather than the one-off where we're trying to tap into what else is happening, because there are other sectors and the total cost looks like it's going to be significant.
Yeah, the truth is, and this is not supporting the arguments either way. Mm-hmm. I'm looking at the practicality of it. Mm-hmm. That first of all, there is no company in Jamaica that I know could insure all the schools, so it would have to be some reinsurance outside of Jamaica. And secondly, you really have to ask yourself whether or not the cost is prohibitive. Mm. However, what I think we can support is to have some type of funding to support schools in event there are incidents or accidents or long term. For example, I know Westwood had a fire several years ago, I think, and such an emergency fund could be used to repair Westwood. So I'm not saying that we shouldn't think about how we move forward, mm-hmm. but in terms of the insurance of all of our educational institutions, I'm not so sure that is feasible at this point.
Let me hear you, Paul Scott. You would have heard Courtney Winter indicating that an insurance plan may not be practical at this moment. Your thoughts on that?
Yes, I agree with Mr. Winter that an insurance plan to insure school is not a practicality at this time. Right now, at the primary and infant levels, we are not even receiving adequate funds for, basic educational needs. So I'm not even sure where that funds would come from to further insure schools. But what I do agree with, the sentiment going around, is to establish that disaster or emergency funds, if we want to call it, similar to what the Ministry of Finance spoke about earlier on. And that fund can be triggered when we have incidents of disaster. So that fund would not be used for routine maintenance. That, of course, would come from the recurrent expenditure from the budget. But certainly when we have activities or events like disaster, whether it is hurricane or earthquake, as a matter of fact, we have to recognize that Jamaica sits in that line, both the fault line for the earthquake and the regular trajectory route for hurricane and tropical storm. And so we definitely have to think forward as it relates to establishing that disaster fund, because schools and all our major infrastructure gets hit many times. Not only that, schools across Jamaica are used as shelter, mm-hmm. and therefore it is more than important for the government to establish that fund so that especially even schools that are used as shelter, those schools can get repaired first, mm-hmm. for argument's sake.
Mm-hmm. And Courtney Winter, as the president of the Association of Chairmen, your remit as board chairman, you set broad policy and ensuring that the school is being run according to the education regulations. Do you find though that our plants, our school plants, are being adequately maintained? So outside of even having a disaster, are the plants being maintained such that if a disaster does happen, they can at least stand up somewhat?
The short answer to that question is no. The traditional schools that are aged and the plants are aged, it requires quite a bit of money to maintain those plants. For example, for my school, we have an electrical system that is probably as old as the school. And to comprehensively go through and repair that electrical system is going to cost quite a bit of funds. However, for the newer schools that are being built with slabs and a little more engineering, I think those schools, it takes a little less to maintain. But the short answer to that is that I don't think that the maintenance cost is significant in the budget, Ministry of Education budget, and a little more can be done to ensure the maintenance of school. But I would also like to just step back a second to say that there are some schools that are actually insured. I know as a fact that there are some schools that, for example, will have peril insurance. They insure their telecommunication network, their internet network, their buses.
And that's on an individual basis.
And that's on an individual basis. Yes.
Would that be a decision maybe through the Paac Student Association?
In some cases it is, but in other cases the school, out of its own funding, have taken the decision to do peril insurance. It may be limited insurance, but yes, it's part of the school budget.
And Paul Scott, on that point of maintenance of plant, I imagine it's even worse at the infant and primary school level because we still have some classrooms that are divided by chalkboards.
Yes.
We still have some schools, primary schools, that are really not fit totally to be accommodating students. I imagine it's worse at that level in terms of maintenance.
And you're so correct with that. And as principals and leaders within the infant and primary sector, we have to be very creative. You know, there's a term I don't even want to use on the air that sometimes we become, quote unquote, beggars. But the challenge is, as Mr. Winter said, is the funding and the whole process of maintenance on a regular basis is woefully inadequate. And while there are some schools that may be more financial off in terms of the parents contributing and they have very active Paac Students Association, that is very good, and we continue to lobby and advocate for that because that will supplement the Ministry of Education's own maintenance program and maintenance costs. And you are even aware that at the primary and the infant level, we are not permitted to, ask parents for contribution, even though we do make the suggestions when parents come in for various meetings, and they do comply sometimes, but the compliance rate is very, very low at the primary and infant level. Sometimes the funds that we collect are just, to use to supplement those regular maintenance areas that the ministry should, in fact, be maintaining.
And when you make the case to the central ministry or to your education officer to say, boy, we need more to ensure the plant is properly maintained, what's the response you get?
Well, listen, first, as school leaders, we have to prepare a budget in advance. And there is an attachment to that budget that speaks to exactly what you are making reference to. What is it that we need the additional funds for, how? And there's a process and a system for us to detail that information. I believe, though, for the most part of it, it's just an academic process that the ministry themselves uses to collate their data, I guess, to put together the ministry budget. That's the most I can say, because most of the time, if not all the time, there's no response to that. What we may get response from is, for example, schools are making suggestions now about the effect of Hurricane Beryl, and because, like a classroom, the roof of a classroom flew off or something like that, the ministry now may try and make attempt to amend that. but that could have been avoided through the regular maintenance and some of the issues that we have already suggested and requested prior to the hurricane period.
You know, Courtney Winter, clearly we have a problem on our hands. And outside of the need for a disaster fund, what I'm hearing coming from both of you gentlemen is the need for a sustenance, a plan to sustain the schools and have proper maintenance in place. But how do you see you going forward, the way forward as an institution to deal with this situation that is before you?
Let me just address what's before us, which is Beryl and the destruction, especially on the southwest and western end of the island. I'm going to recommend and suggest to the Ministry of Education that whatever funds are available for repairs, that these allocations are made directly to the schools, and that the schools use the emergency procurement method to try to get their schools repaired before September. I would also recommend and suggest to the government to keep up the pressure on the utilities to ensure that even if schools are not fully ready, that there is adequate internet, electricity, and water at the schools. Why? Because COVID has taught us that we can do hybrid learning, we can do full internet learning once we have the infrastructure in place. So some schools may not be completely ready, but at minimum, they can revert to either hybrid or online learning. I am going to be very optimistic to say that if the Ministry of Education were to go to emergency procurement and to make the allocations directly to the schools will be ready for September.
Paul Scott, will you support that?
Well, certainly, that's a very good idea. We believe that once the funds are directly remitted to the schools and the emergency procurement procedures are effected, principals and their team will be able to make that quick repairs to the areas that are most needed. The assessment period alone can take up a lot of the time, but the principals and their team, they are on the ground, and so they can see the area, they can prioritize and use that funding to have emergency procurement and repairs. So I think that's the way forward.
How do you ensure in a situation like that, Courtney Winter, that there's accountability for that kind of spend, though, if we're remitting funds directly to the schools?
Well, the Ministry of Education, on a normal course of business, get reports on the spend of every school. And I think that is done monthly or quarterly. So it wouldn't be any different. They would just have to put some accountability metric in place to ensure that those funds were spent as intended. I'm also confident that principals and board members of Jamaican schools are very responsible people, and they're anxious and eager to get their schools up and running. So that is the least of my problem. But the Ministry of Education can put some accountable metric in place to ensure that the funds were used as intended.
All right, we have to leave it there. We're going to keep in contact with you, gents, especially in August, to see where we are in terms of readiness for September. But I know we're all hoping that our school plans will be ready for the reopening of school. Courtney Winter is the president of the Jamaica Association of Chairmen of Secondary Institutions. Paul Scott is the public relations officer at the Jamaica Association for Principals of Infant and Primary Schools. Gents, thanks for your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. Take care.
You too. Yeah, we can only hope that the schools will be ready. I mean,
yeah, it's a lot to be done.
Yeah, and I don't think they have yet. They know the estimates for Region 2 We still haven't gotten that yet. So it could be quite a pretty penny. But for the sake of the kids who have already suffered through the COVID pause, I'm going to call it that, we hope that school will be reopened. It's time for your calls. Time for you to... Oh, no. Miss Jana says not time for that yet. No, okay. So we're going to turn our attention to Beryl's impact on businesses after the break.
Nation's Business was brought to you by BH Paints. Paint it, love it with BH Paints.
The mission of the Ministry of Legal and Constitutional Affairs includes revising Jamaica's legal and constitutional infrastructure and accelerating the pace of reform. The time by the MLCA is...
It's 3 minutes after 7.
The Jamaica Observer is always ahead. But did you know we're also number one by far? With over 18 million page views on our website, over 800,000 followers on Instagram, and a following of over 500,000 followers on Twitter.
We're tapping into an audience like no other.
And the numbers don't lie. Contact the Jamaica Observer team today to reach your target audience. Give us a call at 470-9172 to advertise with us.
The number one by far.
Ray and nigga, feel we culture.
How much for your drink a rare rum? How much for your flask? How much for your drink a rare rum? How much for your flask? When you head to the bar, feel all our vibes and parts. Spend 15 bills, get a queue, feed the crew. Or spend 250 pound a drink for you or your boo. How much for your drink a rare rum? How much for your flask? How much for your drink a rare rum? How much for your flask?
Must be 18 years older to drink. Drink responsibly.
Thanks for staying with us here on Nationwide at 5. My name is Sanjay Lewis.
I'm still Ricardo Brooks.
You're still Ricardo Brooks?
Still.
You sure?
We're turning our attention now to Beryl's impact on businesses. The businesses in Clarendon, or some of them, Manchester and St. Elizabeth, are battling to recover after a battering from Hurricane Beryl last Wednesday. Business people and sector leaders in those parishes say the biggest losses were sustained by farmers and agro-processing businesses.
Among those hit were retail, including dry goods, small cook shops, hairdressers and barbers. In St. Elizabeth, where large sections of the parish are still without electricity, the losses are still being counted among business leaders as well as residents. Well, to discuss, we are now joined by the president of the Manchester Chamber of Commerce, Simone Spence Johnson. We also have the president of Bull Savannah Benevolent Society, Tracy and Roden Powell, and we are to be joined by a store owner and the president of the Maypen Vendors Association, Lorraine Green Mason. Good evening, and thank you as always for joining us.
Good evening.
Good evening. Thanks for having us.
Wonderful.
Good evening.
Wonderful. Let me start with you, Simone Spence Johnson. You're the president of the Manchester Chamber of Commerce. Talk to me. What has it been like with businesses in your area, and how have they been affected?
Sanjay, I'm telling you, the hit has been significant. Especially, when you prepare for a hurricane, you're preparing for the act itself, the storm coming, the winds, all of that. But I don't think we're adequately prepared for the after effects of it. At least I know I wasn't, and quite a bit of the persons I've spoken to was really not prepared for what would come after. So we're talking about the loss of electricity, we're talking about no water, we're talking about no internet. Mm-hmm. It really has impacted businesses straight across the parish, and then coupled with the damages from the hurricane. So we're really, really trying to put the pieces back together now.
Have you been able to put a price tag as to the losses?
No, I wouldn't even begin to. I wouldn't even know where to tell you what figure that would look like, because we're still putting together, losses where they occurred across the parish and with different business sectors as well. So I couldn't give you a figure.
Tracy and Roden, over there in Bull Savannah, what's it looking like? Ms. Roden? No, not hearing Tracy and Roden. Mrs. Spence Johnson, in terms of, you say, I know you say that it's going to be hard for you to place your finger exactly where you need to start the recovery process and the efforts. But do you have at least any estimate as to when you think businesses across the parish will be able to get back to some semblance of normalcy?
Well, I know today.
So sorry about that.
Yes, no problem. I know today I would probably say maybe 75% of the parish has gotten back live. That would be, a decent estimate. The main shopping center area got back light today, which was a little surprising being that it's in the center of the town. But it's been restored. So, coming back, I would probably say maybe another couple of weeks. But then what we're looking at is that this is the start of the hurricane season.
Yes.
Right.
And in terms of the physical infrastructure, obviously there's been some damage. Do you know whether your members had adequate insurance in some of those instances?
I would say for most of the commercial properties, yes, they would have had adequate insurance because, that comes with, it's almost a requirement when you have these kind of properties. Outside of that, if they have a mortgage, yes, definitely they have home insurance. But I would say some of the older homes, no, they would not necessarily have, adequate coverage.
And one of the things, well, I know you indicated that there is the need to have the electricity and the water, but outside of that, what would be the biggest need right now?
Looking at it, because we take these things for granted that, you get up every day, you fit the switch, light comes on, and it fuels so much of our lives. So I would say really the biggest need is for us to just tune our minds as to how we can be adequately prepared for something that comes next. I wouldn't say, of course, yes, they need funds and they need to get back, their business on target, but know that these facilities are back in play, that will help, to turn the wheels again. But I think it's more of us shifting our mind to understand and putting things in place physically and, making preparations to say, okay, if something like this happens next, a couple of weeks down the road, a couple of months down the road, how are we able to bounce back quickly? So I think that's the biggest need. So
kind of forward planning.
Right, forward planning. So whether it's education, I was talking to a colleague of mine and he's saying, in crisis there's always opportunity. So what I think this is an opportunity for maybe tech companies, persons who are in the solar business, persons who are, thinking of different ways, different technologies that they can apply to our lives now. This is an opportunity for you to come to the fore and say, all right, this is what we can do now, this is what we can offer. And it has to be, I'm not saying it's going to be cheap, but it has to be affordable for the masses. Because we need it. I think we live in the Caribbean, we live on this belt that we have hurricanes every year, or almost every year, based on our geographic location. So these are things that we need to start looking at and looking at quickly.
Yeah. And in conversations with your membership, is it that any have indicated that this is it for them? They're packing up shop, they're not going to rebuild, they're getting out of business?
No. You know that the Jamaican spirit is not like that.
Yes.
We're very resilient people, and we do know. One thing we know is how to come back. One thing we know is how to take up the mop, dry up the water, wring it out, and come again. We're going to start again. So even if it is that the roof is gone, we're going to put the tarpaulin, we're going to call our neighbors, we're going to sing a Sankey, and we're going to find our way back home again.
A resilient people.
Yes. We're resilient.
Yes. One of the unfortunate outcomes in a situation like this, Simone, is that we often see price gouging. Yeah. We see businesses, we've had the reports here, some businesses just hiking prices. Have you had any such reports, and what would you say to your members about that practice at a time like this?
I think that also comes back to what I was mentioning earlier about the preparation. So if it is that we know, like for me now, I know definitely my hurricane list is way longer. I know these are the additional things that I need to add. So I think when it comes to that, I would say to them, we need to stock up, and we need to stock up early. Even the generators back in the day was a luxury, yes? I really don't think it is nowadays.
Yeah.
Or it shouldn't be. You know, we really need to change that price tag there. Because we need it. As I said to you earlier, we're living in a hurricane zone, so to speak. We have these natural disasters occur. And as such, we should have our citizens prepared in a particular way. So even though it really shouldn't be marking the things up 10, what is that now? 10,000%?
Right.
For, a flashlight. And I heard a couple of my friends, they couldn't get batteries, they couldn't get this, they couldn't get that. And it's just, I know it's a crisis, but I'm saying we must do better. And I say to my members that we need to be prepared. We need to be our brother's keeper as well. So if they spend all the money during the hurricane, they can't come and shop after the hurricane. What's going to happen? You understand? So we kind of have to make it make sense. So if we gouge them now, what's going to happen down the road? They still have to come back. Your business is going to still need to be open, and you're going to have to sell things. So why kill them now? You know what I mean? Spread it across a little bit. That's what I would say, and that's what I have been saying to them.
Yeah. And let's hope they heed that word, yeah?
We hope.
All right, Simone Spence-Johnson, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
All right, thanks for having me. Take care.
Yeah, man, you too. We were supposed to be joined by Lorraine Green Mason and Tracy Ann Roden Powell, but listeners, how the signal strength is at this time, so we're not making contact.
She said something, Ricardo, that is very important. I think for a very long time, we have had near misses. And individuals have said, it's not coming.
It's led to a level of complacency.
So we have become very complacent, and now that we have actually had a near hit, people are surprised.
Yes.
And we weren't prepared.
And what I'm hopeful for is that people recognize that even without a direct hit, such a brush cause such significant damage that they realize that these weather events, these weather systems are serious.
Yes.
And as Simone said, plan properly so that you can bounce back.
And what is also important, Ricardo, in rebuilding, we have to be careful how we build. Because the houses that we're doing must be at least resistant to a certain level, a certain category of hurricane.
I was making the point, Cliff and I were discussing it, and I was saying to him, that's part of what I like about the Prime Minister's messaging coming out of Beryl. That, yes, we must get assistance to those who need it, but we have to make sure that the recovery is sustainable. I keep saying to people, this is the start
system. Of the year.
Exactly. It's a
start of the hurricane season.
System.
Yeah.
So if you rush, and I know people are in need, and I've seen the videos, I've seen people crying, I've heard the appeals, but I think Mr. Holness is right insofar as you need that kind of forward thinking to make sure that you're baking into the response some kind of resilience and sustainability. Otherwise, we're going to be back at square one, and it's not pretty.
Yep.
Yeah. Do I have permission now, Miss? I have permission now. Miss Davis says I am allowed now. It's time for us listeners to give Sanjay his baptism of fire.
And I already seen it on the YouTube chat,
It's time for his baptism, listeners. 630-937-124, 618-8255. Those are the numbers.
Did you know that many of my schoolmates have an unhealthy diet, especially at school? And now 23% of them are overweight and or obese? And so one less sugary drink at my school may mean one friend less,
or two or three,
at risk of cavities or diabetes. And if we're served less foods high in saturated fats, sugar and sodium, it may reduce our risk from obesity, heart disease and high blood pressure.
The solution is simple, right? Act now.
Let's get unhealthy foods and beverages out of our schools.
A message from the Heart Foundation of Jamaica and partners.
With so much to do in one location, make Megamart your one-stop shop. Pick up your groceries and houseware needs, grab a bite and pay some bills, fill your prescriptions and see the beauty products in our pharmacy. All in one amazing location. My Megamart, the best value by far.
Treatment for drinking water. Following the passage of Hurricane Beryl, members of the public are reminded to treat their drinking water before consumption. Water can be treated by boiling or adding bleach. Here are some tips to help you. For boiling water, water that is boiled for treating should be heated until it comes to a rolling boil, where bubbles continuously come to the surface of the water. Allow water to boil for 1 minute. Cover and let cool. Store water in a clean, covered container. For adding bleach, you may also add 3% or 5% household bleach, not bulk bleach, to treat drinking water. Add 2 drops of bleach to 1 quart of water. Mix well and leave for 30 minutes before drinking. For further information, please contact the Health Emergency Operations Center at 888-1-LOVE. That's 888-663-5683.
Jamaica, Jamaica, it's here again. Phosphorage Super Summer Sale, July 1 to August 31. Come get your wires, breakers, solar flood lamps, LED bulbs, ceiling fans, and so much more. Call 876-937-5099 or visit us in Kingston, Mandeville, Draxall, and Montego Bay. Up to 60% off this summer. Get your solar panels starting from $17,600. Come shop, come save at Phosphorage Super Summer Sale, July 1 to August 31. See you there at Phosphorage. Open Sundays.
It's 18 minutes after 7 this evening, and I'm just reading through the YouTube chat. Yeah, they have so many views on you, Sanjay.
Let me clarify one. They're asking if my hair is braided. No, it's not. See? Real Rasta.
I see news commentators saying to you, don't worry, Papa. Over here is a bunch of die-hearted keyboard bullies. That's exactly what they are. She says you'll survive. Don't take them too serious. They love their parties more than life itself. But they are okay otherwise. I think that's a fair characterization. 630-9371-24-618-8255.
Cleveland.
Cleveland.
Yes, sir.
How are you, my brother?
Good evening, Mr. Roden.
No, this is Mr. Lewis.
Mr. Lewis, yes. Mr. Lewis.
Sanjay is fine, Cleveland. Sanjay.
You know, I just said that what CVM, you know.
Yes, I saw Sanjay Roden.
Yes, sir. Welcome.
Thank you.
To the Nationwide University.
You know what is funny, Cleveland? It's welcome back. Many individuals are not aware that many years ago,
flex your pedigree, my friend.
I was a producer for Nationwide at 5.
Flex your pedigree.
But people are not aware because I was behind the scenes.
Yeah, that's true.
Many years ago, though.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Well, you know it go decide where you're the answer.
Yes.
We talk good politics.
And I love the
politics. We don't want a one-sided politics.
Not at all.
And make the PMP look like they're angel and the JP look like they're dead. No go so.
No Sankey, no sing so.
No Sankey, no sing so.
I hear you.
Right?
Yes.
So make yourself at home here, sir.
Yes.
Sometimes we play rough, you know.
No, man, that's fine. I'm used to it.
Yes.
I'm not new to radio, you know. So I'm used to it. I was somewhere else.
Yes. You were somewhere else?
Yes.
I used to host a morning show somewhere else.
I know of that place.
A very distant place.
Just sing one story, you know, just used to sing one hymn.
Anyway, Cleveland, what's on your mind?
Play 2 and 3 and 4 hymns on the station. Yeah.
Okay, sir.
When Mr. Phillips and Mr. Jackson believe, you know, say a hurricane time, sir. You know, so this how the hurricane mash up the country, and the MP them have to be in their constituency.
So you think it's a hurricane thing?
Yes, sir. They should not be having a committee meeting. Can you go and take away people from their constituency?
But Cleveland, don't you think that the business of the country has to go on? You ever hear your mother say you must ride and whistle?
Yes, I know that. But trust me, I'm sure that most of those people on the committee are from the country.
Well, that's true. That's
true.
actually true. No, I'm going through the list. Yes,
Yes,
Trelawney, Hanover, Clarendon. Yes, that's true. That's
them
true.
a week, no?
Yes.
You know, and arrange and say, all right, we understand what's happening out there. So next week, for sure, let us meet.
But Cleveland, remember this is a running issue, you know, coming all the way back from August. So that is what I'm trying to get an understanding as to why it's still an issue. I take your point about the hurricane. I take that point. But I want to know why it's running for so long.
Well, I don't know, but trust me, I think at this time here, and I suppose them get the news, the story in the news tonight, that Mrs. Holness is under fire from the opposition. So I think that is one of the main.
Wait, so that's going to be the headline?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, Cleveland.
No, one more thing. The schools, I hear the president of the JTA talking about the repair of schools.
Yes.
But trust me, sir, me no say no school could have go repair so fast now at this time with everybody having the same problem to be repairing them place.
Well, that's what he's saying, and that's what he's saying that is his fear, that they're not going to be ready for September. But let us hope. Let us hope. Well, look, let's be honest. The Prime Minister and Favour Williams, they usually try to prioritize school. They do. And I suppose that's because he's a former education minister. So let's see if they'll get it together.
Yes, and to suppose the people are not having problem with their light, you see, they must look out for them people who are throw up wire.
Yeah.
I think it's doing some damage to where the public service fix.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
They need to look into that.
Agreed. More people need to report those things.
Yes. All right, Cleveland.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, man.
Right.
Carl.
Evening.
What's
evening,
going?
Ricardo.
Hello, Carl.
Evening. Good evening to your host.
Sanjay.
What's your name?
Sanjay Lewis.
Oh, Sanjay.
Yes,
you put on, me not bother, but no trouble here. So.
Go.
Anyhow, Ricardo,
yes.
I don't know if you was listening to.
By the way, Sanjay, Carl is very troublesome.
No, man, I know, Remember, I listen nationwide, so I know.
Yes.
I know, Carl.
Yes, Carl.
Ricardo, why you do me that, man?
He's going to tell me something no about one British
Ricardo,
citizen.
why you
I guarantee him going to tell me something no about one British citizen.
Ricardo,
Go ahead, Carl. Yes.
Ricardo, why you never make me taste the man?
Yeah, but we know where you going to come with. Look here. If it's one thing, Carl, I do my homework.
Ricardo, you know, so me not go about that.
No, but... Tell me, what is your trouble with the British citizen
Ricardo,
tonight? Yes.
Hear me up here now. You know, say definitely we have to go dissolve the Integrity Commission office and get some new people there. It cannot stand no longer.
When you say dissolving, you have to be careful because...
the whole body need to dissolve.
Why?
And pick up some different
Wait,
people.
when you say dissolve,
hold on.
Let me...
If you listen, you will hear what I'm
Okay,
going to say.
all right.
But you're not listening.
Go ahead.
Today, 12 o'clock news. The British leader that is in Jamaica said him check and none of him people them on his side make up the 8. How did him come by that type of information? From the documents that come inside the parliament Tuesday evening.
Well, for more specificity, he said they said that they're not aware that they're under investigation.
But how?
That was the word.
Ricardo, but Ricardo, the JLP can't say that too.
Right. Anybody could say that. Anybody could say it. It's why I have never found it particularly persuasive. Because anybody can say it and you can't test it. How are you going to test it?
Right. And you know what the British citizen is trying to do? Is to go back out a road. No. But say, 8 of them, he want to move it from 6 now to 8. Enrich themselves out of the taxpayer of Jamaica. That's what the British citizen are trying to say. He can't do no.
No, but he didn't say that. He didn't say anything. He never said any such thing in his release.
He never used that word, Ricardo.
And can we refer to Mr. Golding as Mr. Golding?
No, Ricardo, the man is a British citizen.
Who is going to renounce his citizenship?
No, Ricardo, hold on, please. Hold on.
Yes.
4 days ago last week. Sunday even before this.
Hurricane come. We talked about this already. Hurricane come.
And he saying he was going to denounce it by the Monday morning going to start.
But
so
I don't know.
But how you know he didn't start the process,
But don't make him get away with that, Sanjay. He never said by the Monday morning. He never said that.
He said he going to start the Monday week then.
He never said that either.
What he said?
He said he will renounce it. That's what he said. He never put any timeline.
Well, we have 4 days gone last week, and we have 4 gone this week now. Today is the end of another working day.
Yes.
And if you start something, you could have said, well, I started, just like how Matthew Sam would have started.
Fine, fair.
It started, and when the man with them did take to court, Darrell Vaz, when he started the very day, him give us an update saying started.
Okay, so you want an update from Mr. Golding?
So we need to get an update from the British
from
citizen.
Mr. Golding.
No, Ricardo. until the day, record, I will never stop calling him the British citizen until the day him send out a release that him start to do something towards it. But as long as it remains, him is a British citizen.
Well, I can tell you that I made some checks today. I tried to get through to members of the party, the General Secretary in particular,
right,
to find out whether that process had started. I have so far been unable to get to him.
That's
I will continue to try.
And it good as me have a lock.
What that? How you go?
Me said that under lock and key, and it's good as me have the lock.
Oh, I see.
Like me, they have the key, me that open it.
I see.
Anyhow, Ricardo, the next investigation me want you done, Tim. For the last about 7 weeks now, the PMP under the British citizen have not called a press conference, which used to happen every blessed week. Test me on that one day.
But maybe, Carl, the burial relief efforts underway, and maybe they're focusing in their respective constituencies
young
on that.
Gentleman, you just come here. Hold on. It is 7 weeks now. Burial fall last week was the hurricane. So before the hurricane came,
Maybe they haven't called a press conference because they're confident that they're beating your party.
No, I don't beat my party. Sensible journalists will ask the British citizens some serious questions.
Like what?
And them hiding the British citizens.
Like what? What kind of questions?
All right. One of the questions we need to ask to the British citizen: why indeed has tried to stop after when he did have was a 3 lawyer with Marlene Malahoo Fort, and he did agree to do this thing in 2 different pieces. Until when he read the documents, he find out that.
But Carl, he did have a press conference about the constitutional reform matters. He did.
When that was?
He did. It's one of the last ones.
Can you remind me that? I'm gonna look it up.
In fact, Donna Scott Motley stood there, as did Anthony Hilton. I remember it very clearly. He did have a press conference, and he tried to explain himself. He did. I don't think the explanation was particularly persuasive, but he did try to explain.
All right, fair enough. I'll go and look it up back then.
Carl, you need to do your homework. You have some more.
No, I'll do my homework as I finish here. But one of the things.
No, actually, I stand corrected. Because I think it was at that press conference where he made the comment, you can't have 1 foot in. And you are absolutely correct, Carl. I apologize. Yes. Yes, you are absolutely correct. Okay. Yes. I withdraw that. You're correct. Yes.
I was going to come up to you tomorrow evening. You know that you can't get away with it.
You're correct. That's right. You are right. Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, he did. It was at that conference he said it. Yes.
From the British citizen come up.
Yes.
The British.
There has not been a press conference.
British Hope Road have not have a press conference that a journalist can get to ask them a question.
Okay. Fine.
And you can ask the young man that is beside you.
Sanjay Lewis, Carl. Why you don't like call people by them name?
Anyhow, Ricardo, let me tell you something. There is nothing that flip-flop, gentleman, the British citizen, can say to you that you can spin it and confident in a hit, say the truth being told. And that's the problem we have with the British citizen.
I don't know that is true at all.
Ricardo, you want me to carry down the way why we can't say that? Ricardo, him and the Prime Minister went to have a private conversation, what they're going to do. And after that, he say he never do that. And he flipping a parliament.
All right, Carl.
That's why Nigel Clark give him that name, that he is a flip-flop flippers.
All right,
Carl. The last press conference that the PNP had, I think, was I'm seeing here Wednesday, June 19th. That was with Dr. Dawes.
Yes,
that was the last one that they had.
But I don't think Mr. Golding was there.
I can't recall.
No, I don't think Mr. Golding was at that one. Avis says I have too many excuses. What excuse about what, Avis? Avis says, Ricardo, please, you're turning the people off. Too many excuses. What excuse? I got it wrong. Carl was right, and I'd be obliged to to apologize to him. He was right. But tell me what you mean by that, Avis. Who's next day now? Omalo.
Yeah, good evening. Good evening, Ricardo. Good evening, Sanjay.
Good evening, Amalo.
And Sanjay, I hope you maintain your independence no matter where you go.
Of course, always.
Beautiful.
Yes.
You know what I would love to see the government do? I would love to see the government go in a partnership with the Jamaica Cement Company and do a slab roof program.
Okay.
Yeah, where rather than putting back zinc on people's roof, they slab the roof.
Okay. All right. For
More
free?
secure,
For free
give them
or?
a better way to be resilient in a hurricane zone.
Would that be for free though?
If it would be for free?
Yeah.
It would be, I don't know what the government drawing down the money, saying that it's going to help people if the government will loan them the money or what. I think it would be more likely they are going to help them to rebuild back. So based on that, that's why I'm saying it would be good for the government if this money is to help the people build back, do it in partnership with the Jamaica Cement Company and do a slab roof.
Well, whatever the case is, Omalo, I've said it before that there has to be a more sustained plan in place because, as Ricardo and I mentioned earlier, this is just the start of the hurricane season. We may have another system. Yeah, we don't want it, but it may happen. So we have to have a better plan in place so that we can be more resilient. So if it means to partner with someone else to get it done, we just need to do it.
I'm thinking through the suggestion, Omalo, because remember some of these houses are not themselves concrete now, so that might be a rebuilding of an entirely new house.
So whatever is concrete, Ricardo, whatever is concrete, we deal with that.
Okay.
We rebuild it in that way because we have to be thinking.
Because you have board houses.
No, I appreciate that. I appreciate where the suggestion is coming from.
Supposed to be thinking.
Yeah.
We all Jamaicans supposed to be showing their ideas.
Yeah, man. No. I'm saying I appreciate
the government to come out with whatever is best for the country.
Yeah, man. I appreciate where the idea is coming from. I get it. And I agree with you. I was just thinking through it.
As we see, I've seen the video. A lot of concrete structure, but the roof gone. Yeah.
And
so,
we should remind ourselves, though, that the houses that are being handed over under the social housing program, those are concrete slab roofs.
Yeah, and that's beautiful.
Yeah, that's a positive.
You see, they're saying, okay, let's build it in a resilient way.
Yes.
So the same thing, if we are going to give back people money, to help to build back, might as well don't just give them back some money and say a couple by now and September a storm coming and the zinc them blow off again and we'll do it again. It's just not feasible. It's not good for the country.
All right. Here you, Malo.
All right.
And the next thing I want to say before I go is that, you see, I'm listening to the whole argument about even the Integrity Commission. It's based on most people's feeling they want the Integrity Commission to reply or answer or give them some justification as to what they're doing. We have to understand there are laws and procedures, yeah? And if these people are going by the laws and procedure, let's respect it.
All right, hear you.
It's not a feelings institution.
All right, my brother. 630-937-124, 618-8255. Lady J.
Hi, Ricardo. Good night. And Sanjay.
Hi, Lady J.
Yes, I just want to add my 2 cents. You see? Now, the Integrity Commission. I think I heard a caller, I don't know if it's earlier today on Cliff's program or tonight, asking that the whole thing be resolved, dissolved rather. You know?
I think it was Carl who said it a while ago.
Carl, right.
Yes.
And earlier today somebody called, said they would do a one-man demonstration, They have lost their integrity. Jamaicans, one thing with us, we observe, we listen. Now, the Integrity Commission releases some statements in regard to Mr. Everard Warmington. and they're after Mr. Everard Warmington's neck. That some of the commission that he sits on, he should be removed and all them sort of something. And then they went after Juliet Holness. Say they gave her a letter from March, and they're wondering why it has not been. They sound like a political organization. No,
but Lady J, hold on.
Juliet is voted in by the people of Jamaica. So is Everett Warmington.
Yes.
They were selected to lead the Integrity Commission. They were selected.
Yes.
And the criteria by which they are selected, it's questionable to see what they are putting out to the Jamaican people. And all of it are daft out here.
All right. Hold on, no, Lady J. I could process that a little bit now. So you said that they're going after Juliet Holness. I don't think that's fair. What they said, the chairman said, is that he wrote to Mrs. Holness in March about the comments of a particular parliamentarian. And based on the sequence of events, I think we're all clear that it is Everett Warmington. And he says that he has not had a response. There is an ominous sentence, I agree, where he said the Integrity Commission is watching. I'm not sure what they're watching for, because I'm not sure what they can do. But they say they're watching. And I suppose that, I agree that sentence was a little bit ominous and almost threatening in a way.
You're right.
But I don't know if I'd say they were going after her. I don't know.
Yes, but that is what I'm saying. Their tone is as if the Jamaican people elected them to choose for us.
Okay.
Okay.
So you think that
And
because
look
the
at
elected
what
representatives are elected.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Look what Greg Christie did to the Prime Minister of Jamaica. Oh no.
Let's be clear on that. Greg Christie didn't do anything to the Prime
He
Minister.
tweeted wrong information around the world.
Okay.
To damage the Prime Minister of Jamaica's character.
And I don't know that was his intention.
Yeah.
Lady, I don't know that was his intention, Lady J.
But would you agree, though, Lady J, that there's a place...
News?
No, but hold on.
False news?
Would you agree, though, Lady J, that there's a place for the Integrity Commission? It's needed.
I do agree, yes. I do agree. However, the way this Integrity Commission is operating, it's a political arm of the PMP. You saw Quick Mark Golden Marky British run with
Lady J, the Integrity Commission is not a political arm of the PMP.
Pardon me?
No,
It's
the
not a
Integrity
political
Commission
arm
is
of the
not a
PNP.
political arm of the PMP.
One would come away with that. You see how quick Marky British came out and was saying none of those are 80s, that is.
But what is wrong with him doing that? It's a politics behind... There's a politics also behind it, Lady J. And I can understand why he would come forward to say he would have canvassed his members and none have been contacted. What is wrong with that?
What we need from Marky British is a press conference to speak to him about the 1 foot in and the 1 foot out that caught him. Right? That's what he did. He was so hungry for power. That is why Mr. P.J. Patterson told us that you cannot give hungry man your food to carry. And that is what caught Marky British. And all know we cannot sit in a press conference to speak to us. Let the journalists get to rivet him and ask him the questions. Why did he try to sway the people in the wrong way when he knows fully well he was a British, he is rather a British citizen. He has not come forward. I remember listening to the groups on the program, the Jamaican for Justice and another one, and they could not call out Mr. Hespute. They could not speak of what he did. They went in and they talk about the prime minister's thing not being
certified. The declaration, yes.
Right. They switched the conversation, and that is what they're running with. What has become of that since then, Ricardo? Has the commission says anything about the Prime Minister's declaration
on Tuesday,
in this report?
On Tuesday, they said that they're nearing the completion of the processes around it. all they said.
cover so long? Huh? So long?
Yeah.
Mighty. You know, I believe they have lost every credibility, Ricardo and Sanjay, and the Jamaican people have every right to see how they act in certain cases. Because all now, instead of they said who or what they have done for the 6, they increase it to 8. And they're going to come with, as I understand, the person can just go and say something and they say they open an investigation. Remember what had happened to Darrell Vaz, why he lost his visa? What the former, the American ambassador said? You remember that story?
I don't recall exactly what Tapia said.
The ambassador said that, you know, he got report.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
He said he got report from a particular person in the PMP, right? And his visa was cancelled. He came on Nationwide and said that. The former ambassador.
Yes.
Right? The same person who give immunity to soldiers. Now, Mr. Clark has passed and gone in such a savage way. That person now is all around trying to make mischief after he was voted out in such a repugnant way down in Manchester. He's back with us, causing havoc in the country, seeking power again. I hope the Jamaican people remember all these actions of this person and make the right choices. What's best for Jamaica, for our children and grandchildren.
All right, Lady J.
Lady J, thank you.
Take care. Yeah.
Dawn,
Hey.
how are you?
What's up?
Good.
What a go on, Ricardo?
Hey, Don.
You know.
What a go on?
How you doing?
Married.
Welcome, Sanjay. I've never spoken to you since you're on my station.
Thank you, Dawn.
Welcome.
Today's my first day.
Okay, well, I heard of you coming. Welcome. You know, I like to
Thank you.
welcome people when they come to
Yes.
our house. You know. Yes, I want to say something first. Yesterday, Tuesday, yes, the times are mixed up anyway. I had to call Cliff. I went to the Royalton and I left my purse. And I couldn't make no contact there about my purse, so I had to call my station. So I wanted Cliff to know that 5 minutes after I called, he shouted out for me. I got a call, so my purse is actually with my friend.
Really?
That's good.
Big up to Nationwide again.
The power of Nationwide.
No, the lady Jason M, I
Yes.
want to say ditto to what you were saying.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Mr. Tapia, he never just say, you know, he cried the day on Nationwide. You know that? The former
I
ambassador
vaguely
to
remember the
Jamaica.
interview. The interview was with Cliff, right?
Yes.
He cried for what was done to Darrell Vaz, and he said it should never happen to anybody else.
I can't recall
And we
him
know where
crying,
it was
but I,
coming from, and
I
we must
remember
stop
he
it.
said that.
You know, to be honest, gentlemen, I have no confidence in the Integrity Commission. None whatsoever. And one of my concerns, I have a lot of concerns, but one of them is we employ these people and there is no proper exit clause. So if you fire them to go off, when them do things, you have to pay them so much money that you sit down and bite your teeth and bite your tongue and keep them, and it just cannot happen. What the Integrity Commission is doing is not fair to the government of Jamaica. It is wrong. The opposition leader declaration, it was signed off on, but the Prime Minister was not. And they make it seem as if it's something wrong. It was a big alabaloo, and they are the ones who holding it up. They are the ones holding it up, you know, because I don't want to tell you what I feel they are, but they are acting in the interest of the opposition.
No,
That is what they are doing.
no,
acting in the
because
interest of the
the-
opposition.
to be
And I
no,
heard
but hold on. To
you-
be fair, though, to be fair to the Integrity Commission, and the Prime Minister did say it when he spoke on when was it, Ricardo? On Monday. He did indicate that they had some questions. They wrote to him. He responded. They have written back to him. He have subsequently responded. So it's a process.
Yeah, but look from the years, from the time, it is, Ricardo, come on. The Prime Minister is just being nice. just being the Prime Minister.
Here is what I
one of the
think.
things I heard you spoke about it, Ricardo, that was in the report, that they were asking about the young man who was shot and
Yes.
he was robbed of the undisclosed sum of money.
Yes.
But we don't know where that undisclosed sum of money come from or what it's for.
Right. Well, yeah. So my thing was I didn't understand why it was being included because it suggested that there was a link between the shooting and the robbery and his official duties. So I wasn't clear why that was included. But here's something I've been toying with in my head, Don. I think part of the reason we're having the problem we're having with the Integrity Commission is because of who the commissioners are. What do I mean by that? These are people, if you really look at the commissioners, the Auditor General, the retired President of the Court of Appeal, I believe there's another retired judge on the commission, and I think a former Contractor General, I believe. If you look at who they are, these are not people who are used to giving account of themselves. They, in the case of judges, they simply write opinions. That's the end of the matter. And if you've ever sat in a Jamaican courtroom, or judges can be Lord Almighty sometimes. So I think that's part of the problem.
They're not Lord Almighty.
Yes, I agree with you, but I think because of their training and how long they've occupied their other posts, they may be bringing that style. And I mean, even if you look at when they release, when they try to clarify something and they release something in how
they make it more complicated.
And the way they explain it, sometimes it can be, and it can be dismissive. And it's sometimes dismissive of the concerns.
Like me can't understand it.
So I think that's part of the problem. And again, the legislators have the power to change the law, so they should perhaps look at that.
A lot of us have no confidence in. And you know, if it was when I named Dawn, me and a whole heap of ladies would be out of them office with placard, but thank God it's not when I am Dawn. Believe me, what they are doing is wrong, and they need to go home. I believe there's a place for the office of the Integrity Commission, but not with these commissioners.
Okay.
And I don't hear anything from Trevor Monroe. I listened yesterday morning. I have to just lock off the radio because I was getting so upset at my.
Remember that Danielle is now the principal director, so she would.
Yeah, but even when she was the principal, the founder always come and speak beside her. I'm always side steer.
Oh, I see.
No, man, but they have changed who is the person speaking. I gather Danielle is the only person speaking now.
The other day was calling on the government people to step aside and something, while Danielle was still there. So all of a sudden, him get so quiet.
No, they have made a decision, I gather, that Trevor Monroe will not be speaking on behalf of the NIA. It's only Danielle Archer. Yes.
Again? Well, I'm listening. I'm a keen listener. I realize that listening is a gift, and I'm listening to hear. But I think the Integrity Commission, they need to go home. Carl, leave Mr. Golden alone. Let the man remain with him citizenship. I don't know why you're beating up on yourself about that. If he wants to be a British citizen, allow him. Cut off of it and leave the man alone.
You think you're easy, Dan? You think you're easy, Dan? Why you want him to hold on to British citizenship?
I would tell you when I see him, Bull
All right,
Thank you, Don.
All right, have a good night.
You too. I love Don so much.
Bye-bye.
What we're recognizing, Ricardo, just switching the conversation a bit, we see on CNN where it says Obama and Pelosi, they have been huddling to ask the Democrats to look at President Biden.
Steering him out of the race.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be the correct thing to do.
If they're bringing Obama in the mix, it's getting very serious.
It's the correct thing to do. And I told Cliff last week that I didn't think Biden would survive 2 weeks. Cliff said by the end of this week he thought he'd be gone. But I said 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I don't think it's sustainable.
It seems like it's lights out for him. And I think after what happened today with that comment about Putin and then calling his vice president Trump, I think that's it for him. I'd be surprised if he is still the person who will be running when next week comes.
Yeah.
It's really sad, because he's a good person.
He is.
Yeah.
I think he means well.
Of course.
Yeah. Can squeeze one more day now? 630-937-124, 618-8255. Those are the numbers to call. Come and give Sanjay a hard time. Enjoy when you give him a hard time.
I am reading some of the comments, Ricardo, on YouTube, and sometimes it's amazing how they know so much, or they think they know so much.
So, for example, Anthony Johnson says, I'm defending the Integrity Commission. I'm not defending them. When I was in the other place nationwide this morning, I remember I did a What's on My Mind where I was very critical, and I remain critical of the behavior of the Integrity Commission. What I am saying is, I think the problem could stem from who they are, the jobs they had before, and their concept of accountability. Not saying it's correct. I'm saying I think that's just part of the problem.
I think, though, that they can utilize the interim report to give more information. And I hear people talk about the gag order and the need to remove the gag order.
The annual report.
Yeah, but through the annual report. But remember also they can utilize the process to do interim report.
No, but I was looking at the chairman's remarks, and he seemed to be suggesting that he cannot do that. There's
been a back and forth as it relates to that, because I remember the Justice Minister, he's strident in that.
He's of the view that
they can.
But if you read what Seymour Panton said, let me just pull it up. He seems to be suggesting that no, he cannot do that. He said, and I'm going to pull it up. Bobby's on the line in the meantime. Go ahead, Bobby.
Yes, good evening, Sandre.
Good evening, Bobby.
Yes, this is the first I'm talking to you. I must tell you that Ricardo and the rest of them, Cliff and myself and Tyrone, we always fight anytime it come on to politics.
But me never fight yet. Me and you never fight. No, we yet, Bobby. Don't tell Sanjay that.
So, Sanjay,
yes,
I just want to say to you, welcome to the club.
Thank you.
The two of us will soon fight somewhere along the line, but soon.
It's all in good spirits.
Let me just read this, Bobby. So the chairman says the law restricts the commission from making any report or public statement in relation to the initiation or conduct of an investigation by the director of investigation prior to the tabling of a report in Parliament. From making any report. And then he says prior to the tabling of a report. So again, I'm not clear if he's saying he can't table a special report before
because it's prior to the tabling of a report
on the investigation. So,
right.
But again, I'm not going to try to interpret what this means, because the last time we tried to interpret it, then so we're wrong. Yes, Bobby.
Yes, what I'm saying, you see, and I have been coming up with this thing from, you see, the very first time when Greg Christie had made a tweet to not only damage the Prime Minister, but also to damage our Highland internationally.
So you really think that was his intention, though?
Yes, Ricardo. And Ricardo, I am putting my feet now on the ground. This Integrity Commission should scrap, and a new Integrity Commission should form out of the office of the Governor General. I think this Integrity Commission is working on behalf of the People's National Party. Why is it Mark Golding, the British citizen, jump up fast and say that he is going to investigate and see if those illicit aid are from his party?
So why you not ask the question another way? Why don't you ask the question by saying, why hasn't the Prime Minister asked all of his members if they are under investigation? Why didn't ask the question that way?
No. Look, Ricardo, the Prime Minister is managing the country, and he has better things to do with his time. If any of his members on his side are under investigation, that is their problem.
I see.
Them and the Integrity Commission. This Integrity Commission, as far as I am concerned, it should be scrapped and allow the Governor General to form a new one, get independent people, and if the Governor General cannot find independent people locally, he should go internationally. We don't want an Integrity Commission who is working on behalf of no political party and so on. Because when he formed the new Integrity Commission, and if somebody like Bobby or Cleveland apply for a job up there, don't shortlist us. because you know where our headspace is.
All right, Bobby, have a run. You know, every time I listen to these conversations, Sanjay, I understand why institutions like the Privy Council get so much support. It's because we can't trust ourselves as a people. And I get why, the history of severe partisanship, how it's damaged our body politic to the point where we think we have to outsource everything in order to get fairness for one side or the other.
That's true.
And it makes me sad, it really does, especially because I want to see us as a people believe in ourselves and believe in our own institutions. But I get it. I get why people turn to the Privy Council because, and they come here and they argue with me all the time about it.
And you hear seasoned lawyers saying they prefer to go outside because people will know people and people will know the judges, and it's so unfortunate.
The trust, the deficit of trust, the chasm. We need to heal that. We need to heal that as a society. I don't know. I've said before, maybe it's a Truth and Reconciliation Commission that we need. Something similar to what happened in South Africa, but we have to heal that. There's a significant trust problem.
But it's coming as far back as slavery and the level of trust, because those who are in charge, the Backramaster, we can't trust them for what they're doing.
The elite, yes.
And it has transcended all the way into our politics to this day. That is the problem that we have. I don't know, as you indicated, how we're going to fix it for us to trust the individuals who we need to trust. But it's a hard one.
Yeah, I get it. So people think I don't get it, and when they say I argue against the Privy Council, I get it, and I get why they don't trust our institutions. But it is sad, and we have to find a way to fix that breach of trust. And I think our leaders bear some responsibility.
Yes.
They need to start. But that's all the time we have. Dana Davy, thank you. Bugs. Can't say that. Bubblegum? No. Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Carol Powell and my colleagues in the newsroom, best in the business. Thank you all for making Nationwide at 5 possible. Mr. Lewis.
My first day.
A good first outing.
Yes, thanks to everyone. Thanks to my YouTubers.
The card, I say, would I lift up the card and give him the 10 with the card? Should I bring the card? Anyway, 10.
All right.
10. Thank you, Sanjay.
Thank you.
I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Sanjay Lewis.
Good evening.
The Olympic Games 2024 live from Paris in France.